I have to say, I'm a little sleepy today, just getting started on this, but I did want to come live and do this, just make more progress in the book. And then I also had found some videos that I wanted to react to. So I'm just getting everything queued up. Probably be a decent sized screen tonight. It's 5:50 now, so at least in beautiful Pacific Northwest. Okay, so let's see. Where did I save these videos? Figure I'd do this here while I'm waiting for people to trickle in and take their seats. Be sure to, check in. Okay, here we go. I'm queuing this up. Okay, so that'll be ready to play later. Thinking what else? Maybe I could just get started with the reactions, while people trickle in. That kind of sounds like fun. But I don't know. We'll see. It might just be good to start with JLP. See how much I can read. Actually, I think I'll look in here and see how much I think I can get through tonight reading. So let's see, page 27, chapter 5. Oh, I don't know. Can I read that much? I mean, it's pretty easy reading, all things considered. It's much easier to read than the last book we were reading. Doctrine of Repentance had me stumbling quite a bit. Yeah, I think I'll get started with the reading. We'll start with the reading and then we'll move into the kind of chill video watching, just because, I am kind of sleepy, as it were. Hey, Stacy is first. Good job, Stacy. Let me take a sip of water here, get my banner going. We're just kind of slowly getting started here. I've been talking to myself the past few minutes, kind of thinking out loud my plan. We're going to have some heat this week, so hopefully I don't wilt. We'll see. This flower does tend to wilt in the heat, Some of us are so delicate. So, yeah. Get my banner up. Let's get started with the JLP. Yeah? Y'all ready? I mean, I don't want to be playing with people. They need to be ready for me. And people can always watch on catch up as well. Okay, so we're checking back into The Antidote by the Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, who has become a very important part of my life, just watching his show over the past, I don't know, like half a year, maybe 6 months. I've really gotten a lot out of it. It's helped feed my spirit and keep me kind of focused and distracted at times as well. But in either way, it does help me look at myself and keep me focused on the path of, self-development, self-growth, internal, spiritual. What sparked me on Jesse Lee Peterson? I don't know. What did spark me on him? Why did I come across him again? Because I came across him years ago and I was like, no way. Back when I was demonically possessed. I wasn't possessed. I was demonically oppressed. I just, you know what? I just saw a photo of myself from 4 years ago, and like, I swear to God, it creeped me out. It creeped me out, like looking at myself. I was like, girl, what the hell? Like the look in my eyes was crazy. It was just totally crazy. I was like, whoa, lights are on, but nobody's home. Like, how did I not ever notice how crazy I was? I looked insane. What can you do? What can you do? But I mean, yeah, I loved like coming across that stuff and like having those reminders of like where you were. And I just like, again, I had that moment of just so much happiness for the mercy and growth in my life. But yeah, back to your question, what sparked me onto him? How did I get onto him? Like watching his show. I don't know. I don't really know. I think I saw someone like do a reaction to him, and then his show came up like when it was live, came up as a recommended thing because I was looking at my phone early in the morning and I clicked on it and I just started listening to it while I was getting ready, in the morning, and kind of like participating in the chat a bit, and like, yeah, I don't know, kind of went from there. I think I watched it, but I don't remember who was reacting to him, or they were like reacting to an interview. I think it was like some people reacting to an interview between him and Charleston White. But I don't know why it was recommended to me. It just came up. Like, I don't know what I would have been watching because I wasn't really familiar with Charleston White either. But anyway, that was kind of, I think, how I got plugged back into his universe. And yeah, I just kind of like got sucked in. And I love live. I love live stuff happening. I love like the whole like talk show thing. And yeah, I don't know. I just kind of resonated with a lot in his message just because of my own like understanding of spiritual warfare. And he kind of helped hone that a bit even more, like to kind of see beyond the distraction and labels and kind of just see the divide between good and evil in the world. You bringing it back to that and kind of letting go of all the artifice that we get wrapped up in as humans because of our egos. So, anyway, let's get started reading from The Antidote by Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. So this chapter is chapter 5. We are already on chapter 5. The Road to Damascus. Everybody want to be like Paul. In the summer of 1967, after my junior year in high school, I flew for the first time ever. That first flight has to be exciting for anyone, but when your life is pretty much limited to a plantation in rural Alabama, and your first flight takes you to Los Angeles, it's like a trip to a brave new world. My mother's baby sister had moved to Los Angeles some years before with her husband and family. She had 3 children underfoot by that summer and asked me to come out to babysit. I flew out there and was overwhelmed by the sights and sounds of Southern California, the freeways, the palm trees, the coastal breezes. As far as I could see, even if I did not see much that summer, California was, as advertised, the golden center of the universe. I resonate with this. Yeah, it does have that vibe. I returned to Alabama to finish my senior year in high school, but I knew I was not going to stay any longer than I had to. I lived with an uncle that year and took advantage of his absence one night to introduce my girlfriend. Oh Lord, he's telling on himself. To took advantage of his absence one night to introduce my girlfriend to the wonders of lovemaking with Jesse Hollywood. Sure enough, she became pregnant. I had grown up thinking that I would get married young and have 10 children, but California beckoned. I promised that as soon as I got a job in LA, I would send for her and marry her. But her mother had no use for me or my dreams. She persuaded her daughter to marry another man to give the baby a name. My boy came into the world under circumstances almost identical to my own, and he would be subjected to many of the same tensions. This all worked out much better than I deserved, but more on my son later. It's so interesting the parallels like that parents sometimes have, like our children have with their parents. Like sometimes I don't remember exactly where it is in the Bible, but there's a verse that really stuck with me about the sins of the father being visited on the children. And I just had this, for me, it kind of spoke to the concept of like ancestral curses, and what is sin more other than a curse, and it does get passed down to generations sometimes. Like sometimes the very same circumstances, children will be brought up with the same traumas or the same like sins until the cycle is broken, So it's just interesting that, his situation with his son parallels his own, so much, like identical, really. I've definitely seen it like in so many families. It's uncanny, really. But yeah, Stacy says I see more in New York City than LA. Well, I have roots in New York City. I did live there when I was really small. That's where my mother's from. But I could never really live there. I don't think. I mean, I could if I had to. You know what I mean? I could live anywhere if I had to. I'm a resilient person, but I don't think I could take it. It's just too much. It's the stress of it, and I love New York. Like I love New York for real, for real. Love that city, and it's so beautiful, and there's so much magic there. But I I don't think I'm not cut out for. I'm a laid back kind of person. I'm very West Coast, I'm very like, I resonate more here. I do. I fit better, but I probably look more New York, I would say. But I like the chill. I like the kind of chilled out nature of the West Coast as compared to the East Coast. We're less settled here, So it's a tempo thing. Some of it is, weather as well. Like I can't handle extreme weather, and New York gets pretty extreme, It really does. At least be on the West Coast. It's just nicer, it's less, the weather is less extreme, I would say. It just is. Okay, so let's get back to the book. That's in the page. After graduating high school, I headed back to Gary and got a job at Inland Steel to make some quick money for airfare. The work at the steel mill was hot and brutal. Given the choice, I'd pick cotton on any day. As soon as I saved enough money for a one-way ticket to LA, I was out of there. The year was 1968, the same year Hollywood star and future governor Arnold Schwarzenegger first arrived in Southern California. It is so warm, he wrote a friend back home. In Graz, Austria, I am always cold. Here is where I will stay. The sun shines. I could not have said it better myself. In California, I felt a sudden surge of freedom that people from all over the world felt when they arrived. Other than my aunts and uncle, no one knew me. The traditions of the Old South, good and bad, were behind me. I could recreate myself almost any way I wanted. I got a job at Better Foods on Western Avenue. I bought my first car. I saved my money and got my own apartment. I started taking classes at Los Angeles Community College. I even dated a white girl, which, truth be told, was one of my major reasons for attending community college in the first place. On the downside, I started learning how to project my anger. Although I still thought of myself as a Christian and was not tempted to join his organization, I started listening to Louis Farrakhan, an angry and eloquent man. Farrakhan preached the hatred that was at the core of the Nation of Islam with a passion few others could match. As we shall see, the Nation of Islam was created as a place for the black man to store and nurture his hatred of the white man. Many blacks who have chosen to follow a more traditional Islamic path sign up for the same reason. It legitimizes their hatreds. Farrakhan had no tolerance for those who dissented. When Malcolm X turned away from the nation's explicit message of hate, Farrakhan turned on Malcolm X. The die is set, and Malcolm shall not escape, he said in a speech on February 1965. Days later, Malcolm X was murdered in the Audubon Ballroom in Harlem. At the time, I knew none of this. Back then, Farrakhan's message worked well on me, as it did on any troubled young black man. I believed those lies. They stoked my repressed anger and gave it a target. In Alabama, I had been taught not to hate. In California, my attitude was changing gradually from love to hate. Hate of the white man in particular gave me a satisfying way to explain all of my other failures. I was not alone in this. Hate was destroying South Central the way it was destroying Gary. The economy had nothing to do with it. The Los Angeles area was booming when I got there. It would not hit an economic snag until the 90s, when the fall of the communist empire depressed the need for production from the area's many defense plants. And yet, what I saw happening in Gary was happening in Los Angeles. Young men were not working. Young women were on welfare. Boys were growing up in homes without fathers. They were taking their anger into the street and finding the family life they craved in their increasingly violent gangs. The commercial heart of South Central was on life support. The same pattern was happening in every major black community in America, and in every city, the alchemists desperately sought some unique local reason to explain why their twisted chemistry wasn't working. Fatherlessness was taking its toll on more than just South Central. Charles Manson arrived in Southern California just before I did. The fatherless product of a seriously screwed up home. Manson nurtured the suppressed anger of a colony of lost youth. They too came from broken homes. In 1969, the year California introduced no-fault divorce, Manson turned that anger outward in a pair of brutal mass murders that shocked affluent California into a state of high and understandable anxiety. In South Central, the violence was less spectacular but steadier and deadlier. The same year as the Manson killings, a pair of 16-year-olds, Raymond Washington and Stanley Tookie Williams, launched a lethal neighborhood association called the Crips. So violent were the Crips that unaffiliated gangs in that area felt the need to band together to protect themselves. And so began the incredibly pointless war between the Crips and the Bloods. More young Americans, virtually all of them black, would die in this war than died in both Gulf Wars combined. What do I love about Christianity and Jesse Lee Peterson? What do I love about Christianity? I think it's the best religion this side of heaven. I love that it teaches us to forgive, that it teaches us to love others as we love ourselves, that it teaches us, what love actually is. I love that it redeems us from sin and gives us a path out of sin. I love how it transforms us as people. I love what, when people are animated by the Holy Spirit, they're able to accomplish in society and civilization. I think it perfects the human soul and brings about heaven on earth, So in us, and I mean, that's what we're tasked to do. I love that it tasks us with that. I love that. I don't know, it resonates. I mean, I don't know. I love the way it connects me to understanding God's love for me and for all of us. So yeah, and then Jesse Lee Peterson, I love that he's funny. I love that he's honest. I love that he can troll the heck out of people. I love how he can trigger people. And also how easily he can make people look foolish, when they don't know what they're talking about or when they're, blind. I think he's very good at exposing that in people, and getting the truth out of people. So yeah, and I love how he, how he emotionally resonates with people. People form an emotional connection to him. And I think that's powerful, So, I mean, I could go on about his virtues, but I mean, I'll leave it there. Lucky Larry says, oy vey, Lucky Larry. And then he said, bust out the popcorn. Or you could send me some popcorn via super stickers. I know I sent some to Nick last week when we were going to VR. So let's go back to the reading. Oof. And my wrists, my hands are a mess, y'all. Terrible today. Everything hurting and not working right. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to read what I can here. I don't think we'll have a long reading like last time. I should add that South Central, at least when I arrived, did not look like a ghetto is supposed to look. My aunt and uncle, like many people in the neighborhood, perhaps most, had their own home and took care of it. The neighborhood was not crowded or noisy or poor, at least not in material things. When my aunt arrived, it was still peaceful. In 1953, the year both Washington and Williams were born, the state of California had only 276 homicides, and South Central was scarcely more dangerous than any other parts of town. That would soon change. In 1979, Washington was shot dead and Williams killed 4 innocent people, which led to his eventual execution by lethal injection. That year, nearly 3,000 Californians were murdered, 10 times more than in 1953, and a stunning 6 times more per capita. The South Central was at the epicenter of that violence. The question Black leaders and the media refused to ask was, what happened between 1953 and 1979? The answer should have been obvious, as it happened, moved largely by guilt. The feds in 1960 changed the Aid to Dependent Children program to the Aid to Families with Dependent Children, or more realistically, Aid to Moms with Dependent Children. A working dad at home just got in the way of the gravy train. In 1964, the feds sweetened the pot for abandoned moms with food stamps, and in 1965 with Medicaid. Soon afterward, public housing honchos decided fixed rents were unfair and moved to a policy where folks just paid a percentage of their income. This made fathers all the more useless and encouraged everyone to cheat on his or her reported income. Before my eyes, I could see the housing projects, which were once safer and better maintained than the neighborhoods around them, were becoming a blight on those very neighborhoods. Without white guilt, these reforms, such as they were, would not have come to pass. The alchemists exploited that guilt. The hardcore knew what they were doing. They knew that a dependent population would forever owe them their votes and gratitude. Like savvy dope dealers, they were creating junkies, and they were pleased with their creation. Interesting. Ooh, not very popular what he's saying right now. At the time, if anything, I was part of the problem. I may have stayed away from the violence, but there were a few other vices I failed to explore. Like so many lost souls in Southern California, I worked a series of miscellaneous jobs just to make enough money to keep my car running, buy my intoxicants, and party. The people I partied with were all black. They were as rootless and unfocused as I was. For our lack of success, we always had the white man to blame, and we did so often. If we needed inspiration, there was always some outside source, a Farrakhan, say, or a Jesse Jackson, or a TV series like Roots, to remind us how the white man put us down and kept us down. My friends would taunt white people, yell at them, and insult them in ways big and small. Although it made them feel good in the moment, nothing in their life changed. Nothing in my life changed either. Just like my friends, I absorbed the sense of anger and entitlement that Jackson and the others were feeding me. At work, whenever I wanted to move up, if my bosses did not promote me, I assumed the only reason was because I was black. I would argue with them when it suited my purposes. This did nothing to improve my chances, but it made me feel righteous at the time. During the mid-1970s, I worked in a hospital X-ray department with a white woman for a boss. One day, I got it into my head that she was harassing me because of my color. What else could it have been? Weak performance, bad attitude? No, of course not. So I called her out. I called her racist this and racist that. I knew that I could get away with it because there were no witnesses. She apparently did not know how the game was played, so she got me fired. I, of course, hired a white lawyer. I got my job back with back pay for the time I wasn't at work. After that, no surprise here, she did not bother me anymore. Many black people in America have a similar story to tell, but when they tell it, they are still convinced they were harassed because of their color and deserve their settlement. I drifted like this for 20 years. I was miserable. I had no purpose. I even ended up on welfare for a while. I told the authorities I could not work because of my drug use. They gave me a stipend, no questions asked, and put me on food stamps. Thanks. That was just what I needed, dependency on top of my anger. I was still living alone and going downhill slowly. My anger only increased, and I continued to project it outward. It was easier than examining its source. Hi, Rome. Rome is here. And yes, LeVar Burton was in Roots. Chicken George in Roots. What was he? He played the young Kunta Kinte, didn't he? Who became Toby. And they had a new actor come in and play the adult Toby that was not LeVar Burton. Yeah, he was Kunta Kinte. Yeah. Kunta Kinte. Your name is Toby. Kunta Kinte. Oh, man. I liked Roots. I thought it was cute. I mean, it had that charm. I love those old, like, 70s, you know, I love the 70s. So anything produced in that time, I'm always like, let's check this out. Maybe not everything. White Boy ENT says, dang girl, you fine as hell. Thank you. That's kind. Okay, so back to the reading. One day I exploded. I was on Pico Boulevard. The traffic was sluggish. What else is new? I was bitter about my life and the world in general. When a white woman in front of me did not run a yellow light as I expected her to, I leaned on the horn and she threw me a finger. That happens a lot in LA, but at that moment, so deep was I in denial, I convinced myself she flipped me off because I was black. I became so enraged I lost all sense of where I was and what I was doing. Looking back, I can hardly believe what happened next. I got out of my car, leaned into her window, spit on her, and called her every vile racial slur I could conjure in my demented state. As I write this, I'm reading an account from today's news that shows how widespread the anger I felt is. The incident took place in Austin, Texas. A young black man, enraged that a white woman with a toddler on board was shooting video of his erratic driving, leaped out of his car, spit on her windshield, raised a right clenched fist, shouted black power, and called her a white bitch. It is for that young man and others like him that I write this book. I know where he is coming from. Not too long after my own road rage incident, I've had an unusual and entirely unexpected experience. I was standing in front of a mirror getting dressed, and by some unknown impulse, I found myself asking God to let me see myself. Not on the exterior. I knew what I looked like on the outside. I wanted to see what I looked like on the inside, and in a flash, I was able to do just that. What I saw wasn't pretty. In fact, it was downright hideous. I've had this experience. Okay, I talked about it in another stream before, but I didn't ask God to show me myself. He just did, and it was ugly. I did not like what I saw. I was like, oh, hell no. How can I be like this on the outside and be so. I saw my spirit and it was not as good as it could be, you know? I was like, wow, I got work to do. You like my web tattoo? It is cute, isn't it? It's pretty sick. Thank you. Chicks with tats, y'all. Ain't nobody gonna make me feel bad about my tats. They are cool as hell. Okay, so, all right. I looked in that mirror and now there was something dirty and dark in front of me. I understood that something was me. I was repulsed. If I ever doubted that a person could have a divinely inspired, life changing experience, as Paul did on the road to Damascus, I no longer did. On the spot, I started praying and asking God for clarity, and He provided it. He showed me just how consumed I was by the anger toward my mother that I had been suppressing since I was a boy. That anger was holding me back, twisting and darkening my soul. In a moment, I understood how wrong and how self-destructive it was to hate my mother. It was this hatred that people like Farrakhan and Jesse Jackson fed on. I did not realize it at the time, but Farrakhan, Jackson, and I had something very fundamental in common. Our fathers refused to accept responsibility for us at birth. Ooh. Hey, good. Get that camper in shape. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're listening. Okay. Former Atlanta Mayor Andrew Young knew Jackson as a young man when both worked with Martin Luther King Jr. He attributed much of Jackson's bad behavior to the nature of his upbringing. Growing up as a child, seeing your father in another family, there is almost an irrepressible need for the support from the father that you never got as a child, wrote Young. And I think one of the strains in our relationship and one of the strains in his relationships with others is that suddenly seeps in. I suspect that the mothers of Farrakhan and Jackson never forgave the men who rejected them. I know the sensation. As I've mentioned, my mother forgave my father only shortly before she expired. Nowadays, unfortunately, such rejection is commonplace. At the time 3 of us were born, it was a source of great embarrassment and lingering resentment. This revelation came at a providential moment. My mother was soon to visit her sister in South Central. When she arrived, I knew I had to apologize to her in person for harboring the hatred that I had. I had never been as frightened as I was on the drive to my aunt's house. I was literally shaking and sweating. All the early fear I felt as a child came surging back. Upon seeing my mother, however, I found the grace to do what I needed to do. Instantly, God took away my fear and anger and gave me peace. My mother seemed relieved and started crying. She said she was sorry for taking out her anger from my father on me, and explained that her mother had done the same thing to her. It was a moment I will never forget. I was 38 at the time, and I was working as a medical transcriber at Hollywood Presbyterian Hospital. I'd also started my own janitorial service, but these were just jobs. I had at this point no career, no vision, and little faith. That was about to change. I realized then that Blacks were not suffering from racism, but from denying the real source of their frustration. In denial, they chose to believe the lies they were told about white America. When I let the anger toward my mother go, my anger toward white people slipped away as well. I called a friend and he let me use his place to share what I learned with my friends and his. Once I opened up, several others did as well. They were suffering much of what I had been suffering. We continued our meetings and gave our small community a name: the Brotherhood Organization of a New Destiny, BOND. Only a fool would have believed we would still be going strong 25 years later, but I was that fool. At the time, no one knew better than I did how unlikely a leader I made. I had little education beyond high school. I was nervous, and between my cleft palate and Alabama accent, very difficult to understand. When I listen to my old tapes, even I have a hard time understanding what I was saying. Still, for all my shortcomings, I realized Bond was my mission, my calling. I had a message of hope and love to communicate, and I was determined to do it. One avenue that I thought had potential was radio. I bought an hour of airtime each week on a local South Central station, and I began to reach out beyond my immediate circle. My message was simple and straightforward. It was time for Blacks to stop blaming others for their failures and to look within. People started listening. Not all of them agreed. Many of them took to calling the station, threatening me and threatening station management. Friends told me to watch my back, but I was no longer afraid. As I saw it then, and still do, Blacks in America were as enslaved to anger and government dependency and as our ancestors were to their owners. The difference is that our ancestors knew that they were slaves and desperately yearned for freedom. Too many Blacks today refuse to recognize their bondage. Toward those who offer freedom, they react violently. Although the white station manager appreciated what I was saying, the threats of violence soon forced him to cancel my show, even though his was a Christian station. That cancellation, however, attracted media attention, and Jesse Lee Peterson, an indifferently educated, barely understandable cotton picker from rural Alabama, found a national audience, proof, if any were needed, that God does work in mysterious ways. Hi, Bubblelandia. I don't know. Are the church boys here? They don't see it either. I don't usually go about without sleeves on, especially in church. I mean, usually it's morning time when I go to church anyway. So it's like kind of cold. Or not cold, but just, I'm going to be wearing sleeves most likely. But it's afternoon and I, been going all day and it's warm out. So I don't know. This is kind of a classy outfit. I could see wearing it to church, like, on a warm summer day for sure. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll get to see it. I usually am covered up and it is a colder climate up here. So they don't get to see it too often. I wonder though, if some of them did, because it is kind of eye catching. It's like right there. It's technically a spider's web, but yeah, it does have that same vibe. And I do think there's like a connection between the two, definitely in my mind. Okay, I'm going to take a little quick sip of water and break between the chapters. I think I'm going to keep going. Yeah, web and a spider. I know it's a treat, you see that people often see the spider, but they don't always see the web, And I've got my prime real estate still to get done, still planning my piece, so that my look is complete. Bolandia said, "What? I'm sure at least one of them would get the vapors if you did." Oh my. I don't know. I have to be careful. Like, I have to be careful in that church, to be honest. Like, the male attention can be distracting, honestly. And it's distracting, spiritually. And it's also like just, it's not, it's not what I'm there for. It's nice. It's flattering. But it's, it can be a bit much sometimes. And it can be, hard to handle. Not hard to handle, but just like more than I want to handle. So, having my the dimps are affecting me. I don't know what a dimp is. What's a dimp? Is it like a simp of some kind? They do get to you after a while. It does get kind of like, I don't know. Anyway, I don't, These simps, they're not helping. They're not helping us women. They just aren't. But I mean, I get why they do it, and they get something out of it as a man. Makes them feel better to worship women. So you have to have grace, have grace and handle it, and try not to inflame their lusts, which, having a lot of exposed skin can do, By the way, what was doing the other night is a thing. Incels do troll women live. Are you talking about not a break nap? I don't know who Grace Thorpe is, but I had it happen before, when I was on Stickam years ago, when I was doing a book study group. That's so funny. I was doing book we were studying Fanchon by William Hinton in my communist days on Stickum, right? And I remember a guy coming on and flashing his penis. And I had it happen here too. Like when I went live, some guy, like, I put the, link in, and he came on and just like immediately it was like penis photo and like, really horrible screeching. So yeah, people have to, anyway, it's, yeah, Irish Republic thinks it's funny, apparently. It is different. I mean, it's, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. That was a weird situation. I didn't see him doing it. Yes, it is. And White Boy ENT would never. Thank you, White Boy ENT. Thank you, honey. You're nice. White Boy ENT is nice. Don't send women penises. I don't want to see it. It's like, ugh. I see them enough, like, written as graffiti, like, I don't. He admitted it. He did admit it. He admitted a lot that night. I don't know if all of it was true, though. So, Irish Club says he doesn't believe, but all right. Okay. I mean, you follow me on Instagram sometime. Next penis I see out in the wild drawn on something, I'll show you. I know you're watching. Okay, back to the reading. Let's get back to the reading. Chapter 6 is called The Chains of Blackness. As a 7-year-old, I wanted nothing more in the world than a little red wagon. I wanted it as badly as Ralphie wanted his Red Ryder BB gun in A Christmas Story, maybe even more. Poor as we were, I never got my hopes up. When Christmas came around, I tried to put it out of my mind and enjoy the season. There was much to enjoy. At school, we would sing Christmas songs, although we did not have much in the way of snow to go dashing through. My favorite carol was always Jingle Bells. At the Nero Baptist Church. Nero, there's a Baptist church named after you, baby. And he's coming right over here right now. I got my hand down to pet him. Oh, they had a Baptist church named after my sweet kitty. Were you there? Was you there? Were there? The black people named a church after you. And they were Baptists too, just like Mama. That's so nice. Yeah. At the Nero Baptist Church on the neighboring plantation, we sang Christmas carols and hymns in the weeks leading up to the big day. At that age, my grandmother made me sit next to her. She wanted to be able to give me that look if I got too fidgety. And Lord knows what a look she could give. On Christmas Eve, I could only dream about what presents I might get, but I knew what we would find on the dinner table. Sweet potatoes, fried corn, potato salad, a chicken that had been running around the hen house just a few days earlier, a big slice of ham from one of our pigs that had sacrificed his all for our Christmas, and best of all, those wonderful homemade cakes and pies. There would be lots of neighbors there too, and aunts and uncles. In a good year, maybe even my mother and stepfather down from Indiana. The year I was 7 was the best of all, for when I cleared the sleep from my eyes, I saw that bright, shiny little red wagon. I had it outside before I even got my winter shoes on. Didn't wear any in the summer. In the days to come, I would pull my friends around, pull my little cousins, pull little loads of wood and loads of dirt. I would pull everyone and everything until the wheels fell off. That wagon meant everything to me. When I think of Christmas, no. They mean no lap. I'm sorry, but we're not doing that right now. No lap. You want me to shut up, don't you? You don't like it when I talk on you like that. Poor kitty, poor kitty. Got 2 cans here. Okay. In our world, we never thought of Christmas in terms of black or white. We thought of it in terms of Jesus Christ. No one tried to deny us Christmas or tell us we could not celebrate it. It was a day that unified all of Alabama, all of America. Looking back, I'm sure there were thousands of boys that morning from sea to shining sea, singing Christmas carols, eating pumpkin pies, and pulling their friends around in their little red wagons. Then came 1966. A Maryland-born thug with a trumped-up African name, Maulana Karenga, concocted a new tradition for Black people with a name as phony as his own, Kwanzaa. Today, the official Kwanzaa website is all about Karenga. Click just about any link, and it will take you to some Karenga promotion, the founder's welcome, his biography, his books for sale, his message from past years, and of course, the donation page. One name you won't find on the webpage is Jesus Christ. In the opening sentence of his most recent founder's welcome, Karenga reminds readers that Kwanzaa is an African American and Pan-African holiday. The thing is, the ethnic group composed of African Americans, Pan-Africans, contains literally thousands of different cultures with little in common save their blackness. What Karenga offers them as a bond is a jerry-rigged holiday, as cold and loveless as the lump of coal everyone's mother promised if the kids misbehaved before Christmas. As to Kwanzaa's famed 7 principles or 7 values of African culture, they owe less to anything African as they do to Marxism. People think it's African, but it's not, Karenga said of his holiday in an unusually honest interview quoted in the Washington Post. I came up with Kwanzaa because Black people in this country wouldn't celebrate it if they knew it was American. Also, I put it around Christmas because I knew that's when a lot of Bloods would be partying. Karenga makes for an unlikely Santa Claus. He was born Ronald Everett in 1941, a sharecropper's son from Maryland. He moved to Los Angeles about 10 years before I did and even attended the same community college. In the early 1960s, Karenga founded a militant Black power organization called the United Slaves, or US for short. In one of its less inspired moments, the FBI quietly supported Karenga's people in the hope that they would undermine the more popular outlaws like the Black Panthers. In a typical confrontation, the U.S. and the Black Panthers, meaning the United Slaves, fought to see who would control a new Black Studies program at UCLA. The United Slaves more or less prevailed when 2 of its members shot and killed 2 Black Panthers on the UCLA campus in 1969. In 1971, the increasingly paranoid Karenga turned on 2 Black women in his own organization. He thought they were trying to kill him. According to the Los Angeles Times, the women were whipped with an electrical cord and beaten with a karate baton after being ordered to remove their clothes. One woman had a hot soldering iron placed in her mouth, and the other had her big toe tightened in a vise. Karenga, meanwhile, put detergent and running hoses in their mouths and hit them on the heads with toasters. What the hell? What? This is crazy. September 11th mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed got off easy compared to these ladies. He only got waterboarded. The jury found Karenga guilty of felonious assault and false imprisonment, and he was off to prison. This story is conspicuously absent from the official Kwanzaa website. In prison, Karinga had no moment of awakening, no hint of forgiveness or redemption. If anything, his philosophy hardened. It was the same old anti-colonial, anti-American, socialist mumbo-jumbo that was all the rage in Black Power circles. He just found ways to make it more marketable through concoctions such as Kwanzaa. He also wormed his way back into academia, eventually emerging as chair of the Africana Studies program at California State University in Long Beach, which tells you just about all you need to know about certain institutes of higher learning. From that perch, Karenga would tell whoever was listening that to make America a just and good society in a multicultural and global context, it was important, first of all, to reject the right wing insistence on morality. Apparently, it was not enough for Blacks to have their own Christmas. Now they had to have their own morality. Unfortunately, too many of them already do, Karenga included. Visit a prison or a shelter for battered spouses or an inner city abortion clinic, and you will see what happens when people practice their own morality. In reality, Karenga was just trying to give political cover to bad behavior. To this day, if forced to discuss his own criminal past, he will refer to himself as a political prisoner. In his world, Black people can do no wrong, only white people can. Fortunately, most Blacks were smart enough to see through Kwanzaa. The bogus holiday has been kept alive by well-placed whites too frightened to tell the truth. Oh man, and Black politicians too eager to exploit their fears. One of those politicians is Barack Obama. In December 2014, Obama issued his formal Kwanzaa greeting. He listed the 7 crypto-Marxist principles in Kwanzaa: unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. And he expressed belief that families were gathering all around the world to light the Kinara today. If any Black family anywhere was lighting a Kinara, I do not know that family. I don't even know what a Kinara is. I have some friends who like the idea of Kwanzaa, but as far as I know, none of them has ever gotten around to celebrating it. Kwanzaa flatlined some years back, and now, if you've noticed, exists only on social media only on media life support. Excuse me. Today, the average Black kid is more capable of naming Santa's reindeers than he is the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, and that is just as well. As the Kwanzaa experience shows, fixating on Blackness narrows horizons, it does not expand them. At their heart, creations like Kwanzaa, or Black Studies programs, or Black History Month provide no value for Black Americans or anyone else. It's quite a statement, okay. In reality, Black history is American history, and any attempt to detach the two separates Blacks from their country and empowers useless Black leaders like Karenga. These programs are more about hating white people than they are about loving Black people. The goal of traditions like Kwanzaa is to encourage Black students to feel alienated from America, resentful of its great achievements and hostile to the white people largely responsible for making them happen. The same is true of the designation African American. The alchemists switched to this phrase in the 70s, not to emphasize the American part, but the African one. Yes, if asked, a person of Irish descent might have said he was an Irish American, but that was not his primary identity. He would not get upset if you referred to him as simply American. Black people had fought hard for the right to be taken seriously as individuals. There is a memorable scene in the 1967 movie Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, in which the Sidney Poitier character turns to his father and says, "Dad, you're my father. I am your son. I love you. I always have and I always will. But if you think of yourself as a colored man, I think of myself as a man." I have not seen Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which I am remiss in not having seen it. I think that will need to be remedied at some point in the near future because I know that's a classic. Um, okay, so now the alchemists were asking for me to be called colored man once again. They just dressed up the terminology as African American. If Obama were serious about the bright tapestry of this nation, the tight tapestry of this nation, he would do away with Kwanzaa, Black History Month, and the term African American by executive order. That would be no big deal for a man who, with the stroke of a pen, made 5 million illegal aliens legal. Trust me, though, the thought won't cross his mind. Leaders like Karenga and, yes, Obama use blackness as a chain to bind blacks to their agenda. To make black anger seem righteous and justified, they fail to acknowledge the suffering of others. I doubt, for instance, that Karenga's United Slaves had any regard for the Slavs who lent their name to create the word slave. You can bet that these white ethnics from southeastern Europe did not do this by choice. It's just that they were frequently taken captive by warring neighbors, some of them Islamic, and sold into slavery. How many black kids know this, or that any other people were enslaved other than their ancestors? How could they? The whole thrust of black education today is to make blacks feel uniquely victimized, as they did with the bogus anti-American, anti-Christian story told in Roots. Oh, he's coming for Roots. He's coming for Roots. Poitier, Sidney Poitier. Chat. He's coming for Roots. Okay, both the book and the TV series, the alchemists have been transforming fiction into fact to turn young blacks against their faith and their country. Blacks, however, have not been alone in their suffering. Neither were Slavs. Irish Repub, our people are getting a shout out here. Listen. For 1,000 years, the English oppressed and starved the Irish in their own home country. Millions of Irish left the country simply to survive, many of them as indentured servants or as prisoners with no other crime than debt. The Japanese raped and pillaged the Chinese, and we did not treat the Japanese or the Chinese particularly well here in California. The Germans slaughtered Jews, the Turks slaughtered Armenians, Arab slave traders captured and sold black slaves to Spanish and Portuguese traders who brought them to the Americas, North and South. American Indian tribes owned black slaves into the 20th century. ISIS and Boko Haram murder and enslave Christians to this day. These massive historic injustices, past and present, pale in the face of what is happening to black people in America. Or so you would think, if you would only follow the mainstream press. The sad truth is that no people anywhere are encouraged to ignore their blessings and nurse their grudges the way that Black Americans are. I could cite 1,000 examples of how this plays out, but let me cite one recent example from my neck of the woods. It started when the Glendale police dared to pull over a car driven by the 20-year-old son of Taraji P. Henson, star of the hit TV show Empire. Are there any Empire fans in the audience? I got sucked into that show. I watched I don't remember what season I stopped watching because it was just getting too much. I couldn't take it anymore. It had become beyond. Poitier. They call me Mr. Tibbs. Oh, Irish Repub is singing Patty's Lament. To America, I'll have you not be coming. There's nothing there but war, or here but war, where the murdering cannons roar. And I wish I was at home in dear old Dublin. Tom Bell could not handle Empire, and the Irish are also Oh Lord. There are some Irish people that have some serious like anger about like I've come across it. It's like, yo, let it go. Not I, but like Irish Americans, like I don't know. My dad, like I remember growing up, he was like, yeah, the English are our enemies. Like what the hell? Yeah. Oh, oh. Having a painful day. Yeah, we got a short temper. It's true. Yeah, I know. I know. I was talking like I was being courted a bit by a Scandinavian fellow, and he like made some remark about me being Irish, and I was like, you know what that means? And he was like, yes, I do. I don't remember why I asked him that, why it came out that way. And I don't even remember why I was going to say what it means or something. But yeah, he was like, it means you have a temper. I was like, oh, no, I don't really have a temper. Yeah, I don't really have a temper. Protestant whiskey. What the hell? Oh my God. Lucky Larry is calling the IRA based. Okay. All right. Wow. Dang. Legal fights. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think maybe it's true. It is true a bit about Irish women that we're not easily, I don't know, like, I just think we have a little bit, character. I mean, like, come on, Bitcoin. Laud. Yes, I've seen, yeah, the Irish are you making Yoda, are you making a gesture? Is that what that is? I don't think people should be, don't let yourself get angry. Like, don't be angry about things that happened before you were ever here or before your parents were ever here. Like, what's the purpose? It's, you can know what happened in history. Um, and you can feel some kind of way about it, but like, we're not in history, we're in now. White boy auntie says, "Ain't nobody scared of y'all." Well, nobody should be scared of me. I'm quite delicate and incapable of hurting anyone. Maybe I might hurt your feelings. The troubles have never ended, Tom. The troubles. Okay, let's continue. Okay. When Henson learned what happened to young Marcel, she went public with her outrage. My child has been racially profiled, she told Uptown Magazine. She claimed that Marcel did exactly everything the cops told him to do, including letting them illegally search his car. Proof of the cops' evil intent was that they didn't give him the ticket for what he was pulled over for. Henson was so upset by the incident and another alleged one on the University of Southern California campus that she decided to send Marcel back to her native Washington, D.C. Henson made an odd choice in trusting her son to Washington. Marcel's father, William Johnson, had been knifed to death by a black couple on the streets of that city when Marcel was 8. God, Johnson never married Henson, and he was not living with the boy and his mother at the time he was killed. This may have lessened the trauma for Marcel, but it might also have further deformed the relationship between him and his mother. In fact, Marcel lied to his mother. As the police dash cam video showed, he drove through a lighted crosswalk with a pedestrian in it. The officer could not see that the driver was black when he gave chase, nor could he have been more polite. Marcel volunteered that he had weed in the car. After failing to produce his medical marijuana dispensation, he allowed the officer to search the car. The officer didn't give him the ticket for what he was pulled over for out of kindness, not racism. As he explained, the ticket could have cost Marcel his license. Other than these minor details, it was just another incident of the man hassling an innocent young boy because he was black. When the Los Angeles Times went public with the dash cam video, Henson had to say something. To her credit, or more likely to her publicist's credit, she apologized to the Glendale police for overreacting. Had it not been for that video, Marcel's account of the incident would have stuck. In a way, Marcel was just playing the role the alchemists had assigned him. The authentic black person is expected to remain angry and resentful, and to project that anger toward whites. No one will tell Marcel how privileged he was to get his own Honda Civic at 17 years of age, or how fortunate he is to live in the freest and most prosperous country in the world. All his leaders can instill in him and others like him is a sense of bitterness and covetousness that reaches down to the very young. In Africa, in the Caribbean, in South America, even in Alabama, you see black kids with beautiful, unforced smiles. In America's inner cities, you almost never see that. This is not a result of slavery. This is the result of the civil rights movement gone bad. The young will learn to smile only when they learn to appreciate the great traditions they inherited, not just as black people, but as Americans. Take the development of jazz of the 20th century's great art forms. One of the 20th century's great art forms. I read about it on a webpage called Culture and Change, Black History in America. No doubt blacks contributed greatly to its development, and that is a good thing. This history traces the roots of jazz to blues. The blues evolved from hymns, work songs, and field hollers. Music used to accompany spiritual work and social functions, writes the author. Blues is the foundation of jazz as well as the prime source of rhythm and blues, rock and roll, and country music. This is all largely true, but it misses the point that the author could and should make. Only in America could this music have come together. If blues evolved from hymns, where did blacks learn the hymns? Not in Africa. They learned them in Christian churches here in America. If blues influenced country music, so too did the folk music that the Scotch-Irish settlers brought from the British Isles. Their music in turn influenced black musicians. I see on this site a picture of Louis Armstrong playing the trumpet. There were no trumpets in Black Africa unless the British brought them. Imagine if Italian kids in America were forced to learn their history the way black kids are. They would be reading books about Joe DiMaggio and Joe Torre and ignoring Babe Ruth. They would be singing Frank Sinatra songs in class and tracing them back to Italy, ignoring the people who wrote them like Irving Berlin. They would learn about how Marconi invented the wireless radio, but would not know or care who Thomas Edison was. As for the mafia, that would be off limits. In today's ethnic studies classes, students only learn the good things about their subculture and the bad things about everyone else's. Multiculturalism today means I'm okay, you're not. The message should be, look what we have accomplished as Americans. That is a great unifying message, and it gives any ethnic group in America more pride of ownership in more great enterprises than would be possible anywhere else in the world. By contrast, blackness puts our imagination in chains and ghettoizes our dreams. All right, I'm going to stop there for the night. Good reading today from The Antidote, Healing America from the Poison of Hate, Blame, and Victimhood by Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. Okay. What are we thinking? What thoughts? Let me catch up with the chat, and then we're going to go into the next part of tonight's show where I'm going to watch some videos from a guy who was in Portland. I want to just kind of see what he's saying and give my own thoughts about it. So if you want to like stay on with me as I just kind of talk about my experience being a Portlander, for those of you who are into that content or just want to be here for chat, that's what we're doing tonight. Modern Gentleman said he really appreciates me reading this. Hey, we're reading it together. It is nice to read it. We're going to get through it pretty quick, I think. Mm-hmm. I wonder if Yoda's going to tell him. Yeah. What up, legend? Hey, CJ. Hey, you can watch the first bit on my last live stream. I got started on reading the book. So if you want to listen along, you can. Oh, yeah. It's interesting history. It's messy, Oh. Just see if I missed anything else. White boy slam dunked on an Irish kid once. Wow. Oh my God. Are comments getting removed? Sorry. Yeah, I don't really have control over that. I don't have anything that's... Oh man, he got you. Yoda got you. Yoda got you. White boy wishes he knew how to read. Well, you know how to type. You know how to type, but you don't know how to read? Or are you talking into the thing? Oh dear. Okay, so yeah, let me get this set up properly here. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. He is saying some stuff though, controversial, man. I'm like reading it. And I'm like, oh God, what if like people come in and like react to it, and then I have to like defend it, which I'm sure I can, but just Oh, why did this start? I didn't ask you to start. Okay. And present this. So share. How are we looking here? Okay, yeah. So this guy, I don't know who he is. What's the name of the channel? I don't know. Doesn't matter. How's the city doing? Honest opinion. So I guess he's going to go around the city. I want to see what it is. So yeah, let's get into it.
There's a lot of talk online about Portland, Oregon, and the condition that it's in, specifically before 2020. But just how bad is the condition of Portland right now? You're going to find a lot of different opinions. I want to give you my opinion from somebody that's lived here my entire life. I've seen Portland go through a lot of different changes. I'm going to show you some footage in this video as well. It's not all going to be pretty. It's not all going to be bad, but it all starts now.
Yeah.
All right, the first thing I want to say is, like I mentioned, I've lived here my entire life. I have no intention of leaving here. So, if that gives you any indication about how I feel about the area. I do know quite a few people, though, that have left here. People that have left the city, some people that have left the state in recent years. And, they have their own reasons. I can't completely blame them. But Portland's an awesome place to live. I've loved living here. There's a lot of data to back that up too. It's not just totally subjective. But like I said, Portland isn't quite what it used to be. So let me dig into that a little bit. The first thing I want to address, there's two kind of competing narratives that I commonly see online that I don't necessarily think are completely accurate. So the first one, common thing that you see about Portland is that Portland is burning down. Portland looks like SHIT, Portland looks terrible, you know, the city's in shambles, you know, stuff like that. I see a lot of people talking just about how bad Portland is. And I can sympathize with those people too, because there are parts of Portland that are pretty bad, or at least that didn't really used to be bad, that are sort of bad now. As far as like crime and trash, you know, just the overall appearance. But for the most part, a lot of those narratives are very exaggerated. If you have not been here before and you're just visiting the city, for the most part, I think you're probably going to find that it is a very lovely city. There are, like I mentioned, there are some places that have quite a bit of trash. You can definitely find it if you go looking for it, but probably just for your average visitor, you're probably going to feel like the city is not an SHIT hole. Now, the other narrative that I commonly see is people sort of downplaying the state of Portland, which that typically looks like going online and taking a picture of a place in Portland that doesn't have any trash, you know, usually on a nice sunny day. And it will usually be accompanied with some sort of remark, like a sarcastic remark, like, oh, Portland is totally burning down. Portland's terrible. Don't come here. You know, these people are sort of seemingly downplaying, in some cases seem like they're even denying some of the things that have happened in Portland and the recently in the current state of Portland. So it's kind of the opposite perspective. It sort of strikes me a little bit as like a Stockholm syndrome, but I can also sort of sympathize with those people in that I think they're probably just replying to the first group in that they don't like bad things being said about their city, which I get that.
Yeah, I don't
I get
either.
it. I don't like
So
bad
watch
things
it in
being
the
said about
chat.
Portland either. I don't like to hear bad things about Portland, but I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm not going to downplay things. I'm going to give it to you exactly the way that I see it. And for those people, yes, the vast majority of Portland is beautiful, but we can't deny that there are some places that are definitely struggling right now and definitely need to be cleaned up. So we've got the people exaggerating, we've got the people downplaying. What's the truth? Well, like so many other things, the truth lies in the middle. Not as bad as some of those people say, and there's definitely some problems going on for all those deniers out there. But let me dig into the details a little bit more. Let's talk about crime. Now, we do have a handful of videos specifically on crime. If you want to watch some of.
What did I say in the chat? What did I say? You don't know the truth. You ain't here. You know what I like to hear about my city? The truth. What? Ugly or pretty, it's still my city. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't need this right now. I don't need the hate.
Of our videos that are just solely dedicated to that topic, mostly covering data, which is what you typically want to look at when we're talking about crime. You want to look at the numbers, but this is a topic that also feels very subjective. So I want to kind of get into maybe some anecdotes and just personal observations. But before I do, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new to this channel, living in Oregon, you want to see more videos about what it's like to live here, specifically videos that cover neighborhoods. That's what a lot of our videos are on, just touring neighborhoods, showing you what the area looks like. Make sure and subscribe to this channel. My name is Seth Marchant. I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of Oregon. Helped a lot of people move here. If you're somebody that's thinking about moving here, if you have questions about moving here, I invite you to contact me. You can call, text, email. You can hit that.
Okay, Larry in the chat, the parks don't have homeless encampments. The encampments are generally in front of like closed business areas, or like they happen in different areas that are like not necessarily parks, or like, but they're not currently being used for anything. They're not, the homeless encampments don't, the city doesn't allow people to camp in the park. You couldn't pitch a tent in a park here. You'll get swept immediately. You can camp on the sidewalk apparently, but like not the parks. So I'm sure
QR code that you see on your screen, if you're watching from TV, that'll take you to our website where you can get all of our contact information there. So the topic of crime, which of course can be a sensitive one. In fact, as a real estate broker, we're not even supposed to speak directly to people about crime. But as a large broad audience, you here on YouTube, I can talk a little bit about crime. So why do I say that crime feels a little bit subjective? Well, anytime crime goes up, it feels like crime is high, regardless of where crime was at before. And there's no doubt, again, if you want to look at the numbers in one of our other videos, there's no doubt since 2020 that crime has gone up in Portland, Oregon. And even more importantly, violent crime. That's the one that's going to bother people the most. Don't want to get murdered, don't want to get raped, assaulted, stuff like that. Those numbers have actually been up. Homicides set a new record since 2020 every year for the past few years. But there is reason to believe that the crime might be tapering off. Just this past month, we had a 30-day streak of no homicides compared to the previous month and compared to that same month and last year where we had 10 homicides over that period. So there is some early data that indicates that crime might be slowing down a little bit. We do have a new interim police chief as of about a month ago. He spent about 29 years on the force. I understand he's well respected, and he has said that his top priority is crime. Second priority is dealing with the drug issue, specifically fentanyl. I guess he had a family member that he recently lost to fentanyl, so it's a little bit personal for him. One of the common questions that I see online is, did Portland defund the police? You can play semantics.
They're making more money now than they ever did.
The reality is that Portland did take money from the Portland Police Bureau's budget in 2020 and reallocate that to other places. Portland City Council also voted to reduce the headcount for the Portland Police Bureau down to 882 officers. I think in 2019 it was somewhere around 1,000 officers. And then all the unrest that we had in 2020, there were a lot of police officers that quit around that time too. So headcount is very low. There is right now, I believe it's called Initiative 882, to get back to that 882 number and beyond, and to be on par with other similar major metropolitan areas. They'd need about just over 1,100 police officers. So we're definitely short on police officers right now. You do hear it from the people. It's noticeable. You see it reflected in polling data as far as people saying that they don't feel safe at certain times or in certain places. You see people complaining about there not being enough police, police not responding in time because there's just not enough police to respond to every single call. So you do hear that from the people. And so the bad news is we don't have enough police right now, it seems like. The good news is, and I think this is the most important thing, is that the sentiment has changed. I don't hear anybody crying for or calling for defunding the police anymore. I'm sure some of those people are definitely still out there, but you don't hear it. I only hear people calling for more police, and it seems, for the most part, that our leaders are on board with supporting that. So the good news is it looks like crime is turning around. It looks like we're going to be able to solve some of that. I don't know that policing is going to solve all of our crime problems, but at least we're turning that around, and it definitely feels like we've had a shift as far as that goes. Now the next thing that dramatically impacts the condition of Portland that you hear about a lot, that it's kind of hard to talk about, very sensitive subject, and I am by no means an expert on this subject of homelessness. I am able to observe things, though. I have eyes and ears. I have my own experiences. I have experiences shared from other people that I know. I know people that have been homeless. And so I'm just going to share my personal experiences with you. Now, aside from me not being an expert, it seems like there's just not a whole lot of experts on this topic. If anything, if there's one thing that I feel confident about, it's that nobody really has a solution to this problem. I've heard some solutions. One thing that you do hear sometimes is that we can solve this problem purely by housing. And as a real estate broker, I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that sentiment that if we just had enough housing, that would solve all the problems. And if you haven't heard that before, usually that comes along with the language unhoused. That's kind of the new progressive language, is to refer to people that are on the streets as unhoused. And I can appreciate, like I said, I can appreciate that sentiment, but I think it's a little bit problematic because there's people that say that the homelessness problem can be solved simply by having enough housing, that it's simply 100% a housing problem. In fact, I've heard a professor here at Portland State say that exact same thing on the news.
Yeah, and that just leads to the conclusion that there are different reasons for people being homeless. It's not just one thing. Lack of housing, of course, is the obvious, but there are reasons that tie into that, right?
Yeah, nope, it's actually just the lack of housing.
Just the
I know
lack of
it's
housing.
shocking. It shocks everyone.
And the reason why, to me, that's problematic, and I really kind of reject that, is because from my own personal experiences, I know people that have been homeless that just didn't quite fit into that box.
So just to catch up with the chat, they're asking about, someone brought up the minimum wage and the cost of living. For the West Coast, Portland is affordable. Like you can make it here. You know, I mean, you can make it anywhere, but you know what I mean? It's not like as expensive as other places, other major cities. The thing is, the economy here isn't as great as other places. You know, there aren't a lot of great. I don't want to say that entirely. I mean, any hardworking, self-motivated individual, I think, can come here and make a life for themselves. You know, and it is a port city. It's a, you know, it's a place that a lot of people are transplants to. So it's done a lot. You know, a lot of people, you know, make this city their home when they're from other places, pretty easily. So, I mean, yeah, I think it really just depends on your temperament and what you like and that kind of thing. I wouldn't say it's cheap. I mean, I pay a lot in rent, you know, in terms of like, you know, where I started at, like as an adult paying rent to where I'm at now. So, I mean, I think that wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, I have to say though, yeah, the progressive left here can be a bit of a challenge, and yeah, they definitely make themselves a nuisance at times. You know, but mostly they're a nuisance to themselves and to like the authorities. But I mean, we did have like some violent skirmishes. Yeah, Portland's like, I think 6%, 6.3%, modern gentleman said, yeah. I mean, Black population here is very small. It's just the historical condition, you know. I mean, they're around. I mean, but yeah, it's a pretty small population usually. Yeah. We have open carry laws here. Very, very progressive gun laws. And when I say progressive, I mean good. Very liberal. I mean, yeah, people have the right to open carry in the state of Oregon. Concealed carry as well. I mean, some people do have that, but the gun laws in Oregon are pretty progressive, or favorable to gun owners. It's a state that's favorable to gun owners. So, yeah, that's the only thing though. Like, yeah, if you are like, it's a good place to have roommates and kind of establish yourself. You can move here with a roommate. You know, if you wanted to move, that's not a bad idea. But I mean, I work and pay for my place, so it can be done. You know, I'm a cripple girl. Okay, not really girl anymore. Cripple woman that works, you know, a full-time job, you know, and makes it happen. So. I don't know about the magazine capacity thing. I don't know about that. Yeah, there's a good Asian influence here too. So if you like Asian food and like culture, it's a good place. I mean, we have the only Muji, I think, left on the West Coast, and it's thriving. There's a lot of like Asians, you know, restaurants and shops and stores and things that cater to that population. When I say progressive, I mean good. Yeah, I meant like it was good. Yeah, not the way that like progressives often say it, which usually means bad. Okay, anyway, let's get back to this guy, the square in the puffer jacket, and oh god, this normie.
They had a place to go. They had a roof over their head. They had a shelter that they could go to. But for whatever reason, usually they couldn't follow the rules, didn't have the capacity to follow the rules, or didn't want to follow the rules. Usually had to do with something like mental health related. For whatever reason, they just weren't able to stay in that place. And so when people say that housing is going to solve all the homeless problems, it neglects those people that don't fit neatly into that box. The people that need more resources, probably specifically mental health resources. Those people are going to get neglected if that's going to be our approach. So it's probably going to be a multifaceted problem that we're going to have to solve, and definitely not a problem that's going to be easy to solve. Well, the big thing that I would say, because this has always been a problem, it's not a new problem, but it's a different problem now. Before 2020, maybe closer to like 2015, something like that, the homeless people that you would see would typically be somebody that would be laying on the street, usually sleeping. Sometimes they might have a sleeping bag, a backpack, maybe a shopping cart. And they seemingly didn't want to be bothered, and usually would not bother you. Whereas now that's not so much the case anymore. I've had an office down here in downtown Portland, and there's been numerous times where I came to the office early in the morning before anybody else was down here, before there's a lot of people downtown, and had to wait in my vehicle because there was a presumably homeless person standing in front of my door, swinging like a metal rod or something like that, playing lightsabers, yelling at somebody that wasn't there. And I didn't want to deal with that, so I just sit in my car and wait till that person moves on before I go into my office. You just didn't.
Okay, interesting. Hey, we gotta give a shout out. Frederick in LA has generously donated $19.99 to the Terri Strange channel. You too can contribute via the super chat button. You can send a super chat with a message. He's sending a heart, 100%, and a strong arm emoji. But thank you, Frederick. Hope you're doing well. Had fun on Frederick's stream on Friday. We watched Pulp Fiction, and then we also dived into Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood, 90s classic. 2 90s classic films. I couldn't stay up for all of the Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood, unfortunately. But classic film. If you haven't seen it, it's a must-see. Brilliant satire. Well, I've lived in cities where the dominant minority is Mexican. It's not, I don't know. I don't know. I have an appreciation for the Mexicans, though. They're good people. The Mexicans. And the food,
See that a whole lot before 2020. And then we also had Mayor Ted Wheeler telling people, we're not going to tell people they can't camp wherever they want. So people did camp wherever they wanted. Now, he has since walked that back and told people they can't camp wherever they want. And there has been a camping ban. You do still see some of the tents around, but not what you used to see. It used to be like tent city, furniture, barbecues, bikes. Even kind of ironically, you see some no trespassing signs or some private property signs now too. And the people you see around those communities tend to be a lot more active and are much more likely to confront you. So I think we all have sympathy, or at least I hope that we would all have sympathy for the people that don't have shelter, the people that are down and out, the people that are on the streets. I don't think any of us really mind people being on the streets, but when you get accosted, when you get attacked, when you got to deal with somebody swinging, some sort of object at you, then things change. Then the sentiment changes.
Definitely.
Then the way people feel about things changes. Now, when I was driving around, and some of this footage that I'll show you driving around, by the way, none of this footage was cherry picked. I just took some quick footage of some popular places that people go, like Pioneer Place, Pioneer Square. I did see one person that was banging a garbage can with some sort of stick and yelling. But for the most part, it also feels like that situation has tapered off a little bit. It does feel like it's a lot more vibrant downtown. And the city is working towards creating more shelter and more places for the people that are homeless to go. When we had the lockdowns coming downtown at times, it was very empty down here except for those people. So it felt like at times it was just downtown was just totally occupied by homeless people and a lot of people that were, appearing to have mental episodes. That doesn't feel like the case so much anymore. Downtown feels a lot more vibrant. Feels like we've turned things around a little bit. So I have quite a bit of optimism when it comes to those two topics, crime and homelessness, and where is the city headed. So a few final thoughts. What gives me some pessimism? What worries me? Well, one thing that you don't really hear talked about, this might be talked about a little bit more behind closed doors in meetings. You just don't really hear it discussed in the news or so much publicly, but the economic situation. Like I mentioned before, a lot of people have moved out of this area. Those people have not been replaced. And there's also not nearly as many people that are coming from outside of the city to come downtown and patronize businesses.
Well, because people
going to
aren't
Pioneer
working
Place,
downtown
shopping, going to Blazer Games, going to the convention center, enjoying all the amazing restaurants here. So what does that mean? It means less tax revenue. Less tax revenue means less resources to fix these problems. Less resources to fix these problems means that people are probably going to continue to not come downtown, and so the cycle continues. If I were one of the leaders of this city, I would be deathly afraid of this downward spiral and this cycle that we're in right now of not having as much tax revenue, not having as many resources to solve the problems, not being able to encourage people to come back downtown again. I don't really know how we're going to fix that problem, but like I said, it does feel like the downtown is a little bit more vibrant than it has been. I think it's just because Portland's a great city. Portland people love this city. And maybe now that crime is kind of tapering off, people are starting to feel a little bit safer. So what gives me optimism? Well, I think in general, the people of Portland are good, well.
This video is a couple months old, just if anyone when was this video published? It's pretty recent. And he's also done a follow-up, so I'm going to watch that as well. We didn't have a Chaz, Larry, that was Seattle. They were not successful in setting up an autonomous zone here. Thank God. I can tell you, I was working at a coffee shop, and the guy who managed the CVS in the neighborhood would come in every morning and get stuff, get his little treats, for the day. And he was telling us that, the dumpster went missing. It was stolen, and insurance wouldn't cover it because it was just missing. But then it was recovered a week later. Apparently the protesters had stolen this big dumpster and pushed it up the street to where Ted Wheeler, the mayor's condo is, because that's where they were trying to set up an autonomous zone. Oh my God. Well, if you were from here, Seattle is a lot less friendly than Portland. Portland has more of a hometown vibe. Seattle is definitely more, I don't know, I like Seattle, but I wouldn't want to live there compared to here. I think it's a lot nicer living here, just in general.
Meaning people. They might be a little bit compulsive. They might be a little bit misguided. But I think in general, the people here really care about each other and care about the city. And I think that'll be reflected in conditions and how the city progresses forward. And I've kind of been repetitive in saying this, I think that's been reflected lately in the city being a little bit more vibrant, a lot more people coming downtown, seeing a lot less of the stuff that you don't want to see when you do come downtown. So some final thoughts, for people that aren't from here, maybe you're thinking of moving here, maybe you're thinking of visiting here, and you're really not sure what to believe online, because I see that, I experience that as well when looking at other cities. For example, San Francisco. Followed a little bit about what people are saying about San Francisco. It's hard to know what's exaggerated and what's not, like the human feces that people say is everywhere, or the smash and grab crimes that people say happen constantly. It's hard to know how much of that is exaggerated, like that first narrative that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. So I just want to give you a sense, hopefully in this video, that Portland probably isn't as bad as you might read in some places online. If you're coming here or if you're moving here, you'll probably find in general that it's a lovely city. Driving around downtown around 2020, a lot of stuff was boarded up. You don't see so much, you don't see that so much anymore. Notice a lot of security guards that you didn't used to see. A lot of security guards like at storefronts, like at the Apple store, for example, or the stores that are really busy. You notice those meter maids, those people that give parking tickets, are still out in full force. I don't think they ever stopped. So, word of caution for you, if you come and you park in downtown Portland, not just the meter, but any vehicle infraction, like if you don't have like a front license plate, like I know some states people don't have front license plates, they're going to get you any vehicle infraction. So we definitely know the parking infractions are getting taken care of in Portland. And the other thing I would say for people moving here, the Portland metropolitan area is a tri-county area, Multnomah, Clackamas, and Washington County. I may have seen me mention this in other videos, but for the most part, Clackamas County and Washington County, the two counties where downtown Portland or Portland proper is not, are very insulated from all this stuff. So I would imagine there's some people that live in these counties that don't watch the news, that don't pay attention to politics, that don't even know that we had all the riots and all the unrest that happened during 2020. I actually have a few friends that don't pay attention to politics at all. I don't know how they do it. As a real estate broker, I do have to keep an eye on the economy, and the economy bleeds into politics. So it's almost impossible to escape some of these things. But some of the happiest people I know do not pay attention to politics at all. So there's probably a lesson in there, but point being, there are places in the Portland metropolitan area that don't experience any of these negative things like the crime and the homelessness. So if you totally want to avoid that and be just completely insulated from that, and you're thinking about moving here, that is possible. All right, I hope that helped you get a little bit better sense for the current state and how things are in Portland. If you're thinking about moving here, if you have questions, again, I invite you to call, text, email. You can schedule a Zoom with us. You can find a link for that in the description. You can hit the QR code if you want to get to our website. And if you want to see more videos like this, we've got over 100 videos about what it's like to live in Oregon, specifically around Portland, on our channel. All sorts of different videos. So make sure and subscribe or check out our channel. Give me a like if this helped you. Feel free to leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Let me know what your experience is. Let me know if you've seen some of the stuff online that I'm talking about. And until next time, take care, everyone.
No, I didn't. We didn't receive it. I mean, I don't know of anything. I didn't receive anything from the city for this day. Let me tell you about Oregon. Oregon isn't going to give you any money back. Oregon.
This is going to be part 2 of Portland. How is the city doing? An honest opinion.
Nicer out now.
I did part 1 about 6 months ago. Part 2 wasn't exactly planned, actually, but part 1 got so much engagement that it made sense to do another one. If you want to watch that video, you can just watch it right here. If you don't want to watch it, what did I say in that video? Well, I said that there's some people that are exaggerating how bad the city of Portland is, and then there's other people that are downplaying the state of Portland, and that the truth probably falls somewhere in the middle. Not exactly the spiciest take, I know, but I think the more important point is, why do people feel like that? Because I can empathize with both groups. People that are saying that Portland is really, really bad right now, think are just looking back to the times before 2020 when, let's be honest, Portland was in a lot better shape. I don't think you're going to find anybody that won't tell you that. So those people have a legitimate gripe, and rightfully so. They are wanting to get back to a time when they felt like the city was in better shape. And then the other people that are downplaying it. What do I mean by downplaying it? Usually that means like taking a pretty picture with no trash, no graffiti on a sunny day. I mean, it could just be something like what you're seeing right here and posting that online in conjunction with some sort of sarcastic comment like the Portland, the city is totally burning down. It's terrible. Don't come here. Sort of a counter to those people that are exaggerating. So I can feel for those people because the Portland's been in the national news a lot over the last couple of years, and not a whole lot of good stuff has been said about us. And if you love the city like I do, then it doesn't feel good. It hurts to hear people saying bad stuff about your beloved city, especially when it's such a beautiful city too.
All right, this is funny. How do I ask for this haircut? What's it called? It looks like it's a faux hawk almost. Doesn't it? It looks kind of like that faux hawk look that guys were doing. Jimmy Neutron. All right, yeah, that's not bad. That's right. We come from a very rainy island, Fred. It's true. I mean, I can get some color in me, but I prefer to not. I prefer to stay pale. Like I try to get enough sunlight, to feed my vitamin D needs, but I don't want to overdo my skin. I don't want to hurt my skin like that, A spiked Pee Wee Herman. Oh Lord. It's always spring in Ireland. Oh Lord. It's called In Sync, indeed. Indeed it is. Yeah. All right, let's go back to what he's saying.
So I understand the people that are downplaying. I feel like, they're just defending this beautiful city that we live in. So it's understandable. So in this video, I'm going to take you through a quick walk down the waterfront, basically just picking back up where I was last time, just a little bit north of there. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to show you some driving footage that I took just before this. Driving footage will go along Nato Parkway, which is just right behind me. That's the road that parallels the waterfront. And then I drove around Pioneer Place. That's where a lot of people go downtown to go shopping. That's where the mall is. And I drove up to Portland State University, which is also nearby. So there's no editing in any of that. So if you just want to, at the end of this video, check out what the city looks like, stay tuned to the very end.
That's fine. Hey
everyone, welcome back to the channel. Living in Oregon, I am your host, Seth Marchant. We're going to get into the topics here that I have in just a moment. Basically, those topics are going to just kind of cover like, how is the city doing? Again, this is kind of part 2 of Portland. How is the city doing? An honest opinion. But before I get into that, maybe a couple things I should say about that video and about this video too, because we had quite a few comments. There was a range of comments, and probably not surprisingly, because a lot of people are passionate about this topic. But one common topic, or one common comment that I noticed was people accusing us of being selective about the footage and the background and what people were seeing in the background. I think one person used the term carefully crafting. I carefully crafted my video so there wasn't anything negative in the video about Portland. So one thing I want you to know about me, about these videos that I make, is that it won't take you too long of following this channel and listening to me, especially if you meet me. A lot of people that have watched this channel have reached out to us and are now working with us. And one thing you're probably going to find pretty quickly is that I'm a straight shooter. I'm forthcoming. What you see is what you get. Take it or leave it. I'm not going to try and talk you into anything. I'm not going to misrepresent anything. I'm not going to be inauthentic. So I guess, people probably, because I am a real estate broker, there's the assumption that there's some inherent bias in there, and that I'm just trying to sell people on moving to Portland. Well, one, I don't think that's possible. I don't think that I could talk somebody into moving here that doesn't want to move here. And two, I just don't have any interest. Like I said, take it or leave it. What you see is what you get. If you don't like it, great. If you do, great. If you want to move here, I'm sure you'll love it. If you don't think Portland is right for you, then it's probably not. So if you want to see some driving footage, that's not carefully crafted. Again, I drove around kind of like the core areas, the higher traffic areas. Of course, I could find a place in Portland that's in really bad shape, and something that's really dirty, or whatever that may be. But that wouldn't be representative of Portland, which is the purpose of these videos. So I'm kind of taking you around the places that are a little bit more higher traffic to give you an authentic sense of what the city's like. And I should say,
I go over here pretty regularly. See that building in the background with the tower? I used to work in that building. Actually, I worked there for 4 years, that building. From the time I moved back here in 2016 to 2020, I worked in that building. So yeah, I've been all around here. And like the place that says Hope with the rose and that's the people that work there would come and bring us like free passes to the Rose Festival. Like, what is it? Like the festival, when it would start, there would be like a carnival and stuff with rides. So I got, to go ride rides for free, and get in for free because of that. So yeah, I've been all throughout here. Everything that he's walked by, I've been there. So eaten at some of the places he went by, You want to get banned, Bobby Blanco? Talk some more smack.
On that topic too, if you work with me as a real estate broker, the same thing applies. I don't think I've sold a house ever in my life. I've helped a lot of people buy and sell houses. I help people, I guide people through transactions, I negotiate, I advise, but I don't ever actually sell anybody on a house. I don't ever talk anybody into buying a house. And I've done sales before, of course. I know what sales is. I know what it feels like. So I'm not trying to sell you on using my services or sell you on coming to Portland in this video. It's not carefully crafted. It's not highly edited. We do some edits in these videos. I hope that it's seamless enough that you don't really notice it. But when I'm out walking around, not the easiest thing to do, honestly. Not like some sort of professional YouTuber or something like that. It's not that easy to walk around, look at a camera, remember all the things that you want to say and not bump into somebody. So occasionally I have to stop. Occasionally somebody flags me down and wants to know what I'm doing, interrupts me. Sometimes I need to refer back to my notes. As you probably can see, these videos are not scripted. This is off the cuff, just as if you and I were having a phone call or a Zoom call. I do keep some notes with me because these videos are designed to be very value dense. I want to pack as much information into this video for you people that are watching that are thinking about moving to Portland as possible. So I do kind of keep some notes to refer to from time to time to stay on topic. But just know that what you're going to see is what you're going to get. These videos aren't selective about the footage or the background. And again, if you want to see exactly what Portland looks like coming into the spring of 2024, just driving around, we'll get to that here in the end of the video. All right, so now on to some of the topics that I wanted to cover. There has been a very concerted effort to clean up Portland. A lot of people have complained about the trash in the recent years, and probably rightfully so, right? And actually, at the end of this video, the driving footage that you're going to notice, for all the people that want to accuse me of carefully crafting these videos, you're going to find the driving footage pretty funny, because I had no idea what was going on today, but apparently there's some big cleanup. See a lot of people outside picking up trash today. So it's actually not what I'm referring to. I'll have to look up later what these people are out here doing. But Ted Wheeler, the mayor of Portland, over the last couple of weeks or so, has been promoting a lot of the cleanups that they've done. And I can say anecdotally, yeah, it does look cleaner. You still get your bad spots, of course. And a lot of the complaints in the past were because, the cleanups are not new. This isn't anything that Portland hasn't done before. But the big complaints that we saw in the past were people saying, well, how long does it take before the mess is going to come back again? or is the mess just going to get moved from one place to another? So far, it doesn't seem like that's the case. The city does seem quite a bit cleaner. I will say the graffiti, though, does feel like we have just as much, if not more, graffiti than we did, like, say, 5 years ago. And really, everything we kind of compare to is about, 4 or 5 years ago, pre-pandemic, pre-lockdown, before 2020. The next thing is crime. I've covered crime on this channel before. I've got a handful of videos dedicated to it. It's probably about time to release another one. Usually do one about once a year where we go over the stats. So I looked at some of the stats right before we came. Nothing surprising. A lot more of what we've been seeing. In other words, things are trending back down. Things are kind of where they were to pre-lockdown, 2020, 2019 levels. The murder rate, which is the big one that people like to pay attention to, not quite there, but trending in that direction. Do have a new police chief, so I think in general that continues to trend in the right direction. Still heard complaints about people not feeling safe or not wanting to go downtown, not feeling safe enough. Haven't heard the complaints about people not getting their 911 calls responded to in a timely manner, which is definitely a thing for a while. But if you want to see another video on crime, I'm sure we'll do one here soon. Make sure and subscribe to the channel. So kind of the two big ones, the crime and the cleanliness are trending really well in Portland right now. In general, kind of gives me a reason to continue to be optimistic. And what are some of the things that some of the reasons I might be pessimistic, some of the things that Portland's probably going to have a tough time solving going forward. Commercial vacancy rate downtown is really bad. In fact, it's the worst for the 50 largest markets. So what we see from that is a lot of people not wanting to work downtown. Now, when you talk about these things, oftentimes, the people that are defending this sort of thing are saying, well, this is a problem in all cities. And yes, filling office space is a problem in all cities. Apparently, it's worse in Portland than anywhere else. Don't really know why that is. We have a lot of tech, a fair amount of tech in Portland. Perhaps maybe work from home is more prominent here. If you ever watched that series Portlandia, you would know that Portland is the city where young people come to retire.
So maybe working a couple hours a week at a coffee shop.
Right? That died out a long time ago.
Not in Portland. Portland is a city where young people go to retire.
So it's not exactly like we have, the joke is that we don't exactly have the most enthusiastic young workforce here.
Definitely not.
The idea that Portland is a place for young people to go and relax and not really work that hard and get by on just a coffee shop job is a real thing.
But either way, that's a problem that the city's going to have to solve. And another thing that's really kind of impacting, or at least you've heard stories of people being impacted by whether or not they want to go downtown, is Measure 110 was recently repealed. So that is a law that made it so that it wasn't illegal to have small amounts of drugs, regardless of what the drug was. Any type of drug you could not be arrested for. I believe you're supposed to be cited and given some sort of access or suggested to go to some sort of rehab. I don't know how much that actually worked, but the outcome was, and I think this was really before fentanyl hit too. So when this passed, we hadn't quite seen the effects of fentanyl yet. So I don't think anybody really anticipated all of the open air, people, you'll see some people like smoking marijuana around, but nobody, and I think most people are probably okay with that. Some people don't like the smell of smoke, and understandably so. But nobody expected all of these like fentanyl zombies to start populating everywhere in downtown Portland. So it feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity, because now we're going back to square one. And I believe there has already been arrests. Portland has already been arresting people that they have found to be possessing small amounts of drugs. Now, why did they do that? Of course, for the reason that I mentioned. the open air drug use just got totally out of control, totally out of hand. It was happening, you know, around schools, around kids. People didn't feel safe.
Well, if you aren't okay, you can't smoke inside. Now we can't smoke outside. Where are people supposed to smoke? Terry's tree getting called out. Oh Lord. No Billy Bros watch. I know Irish Pub. It's so funny. Their beef. Oh my goodness.
Actually kind of surprised that they repealed it and as quickly as they did. And it really feels like a missed opportunity because, like I said, now we're back to square one. And it's probably, if you ever want to go down that path again of trying to, instead of incarcerating people, getting them into rehab, it's probably going to get very tough to get something like that passed again. But that's where we're at. And I think for the most part, that's where people are going to be happy at. Because that was one of the biggest complaints is all the open air drug use. So Measure 110 repealed. And it was things like that probably led to, and we did a video on this, if you want to check that out. But Multnomah County had their first population decline ever. Now it was just like a fraction of a percentage. It was just a small percentage. But more importantly than that, a lot of those people that left were high income earners. And it's not obvious that the people that moved in, again, the population only went down a tiny bit, so it's not like a bunch of people left and those houses didn't get sold and those spots didn't get filled. But it's not obvious that the people that moved in have the same income. So potentially the city's going to miss out on revenue, thus having less resources to deal with some of the things that we're talking about. So that's also one reason to potentially be a little bit pessimistic about the future. But in general, there's definitely more reasons for optimism rather than pessimism. Now I'm going to take you to some of that driving footage. I hope this little walk and talk through the city helped you get a better look for how things look and how things are going and what to expect. Again, if you are thinking about buying a home here, you'd like to move here, if you have questions, we work the Portland metropolitan area as well as that includes Vancouver, licensed in Washington as well. So if you have questions about moving here, I invite you to call, text, email. You can find all of my contact information in the description below. You can hit that QR code if you're watching from TV. And if you want to see more videos and stay updated on what it's like to live in Portland, not just the city, but the suburbs, all the pros and cons, all the good and bad. Like I said, I call it how I see it. We're not going to be carefully crafting these videos. So if you want to continue to see, authenticity and really what Portland is like, make sure and subscribe to this channel. And if this video helped you, give me a thumbs up. Feel free to leave a comment. I'm sure this video will get lots of comments. We try and reply to them all. I just ask that you keep it civil, of course. I always try and keep it positive. Again, I understand for some of the people, that have some of the negative sentiments about some of the stuff that's been going on in the city, but try and keep it positive. Otherwise, we'll try and comment back. And until next time, take care, everyone.
All right, so he's going down Nato Parkway, which is right next to the park he was walking. I worked in that building as well, the red brick building. Oh, the street is coming up. Oh, I don't know right away. As you can see, there's a lot of empty storefronts. These places. Oh, you can see on the right-hand side here, the Portland building. It's one of the most famous places. The one that's all oddly decorated. There's City Hall on the left, and yeah, the very bottom, and then the multicolored building right there. That's the Fort Milligan building. And the other side of it is the Fort Milligan statue. Nice, but don't dox yourself. I'm not doxing myself. Yeah, that's one thing I love about it here. Is it's very free. So he's on 4th Avenue right now, I think. And you can see from the buildings are boarded up because they're not used. But pre-pandemic, all this stuff was open and there were businesses. So it is it's tough to see sometimes. And he's going through kind of fast. I think that's the mall on the left side. I do like that mall. They got a lot going on. Or here it is. I know this is the mall. The other building was there's some underground part. Blazers, go Blazers, Trailblazers. I love this building here on the left. It's been like derelict forever, but at one time it was really cool. It's a very unique building. But yeah, and then on the other side there's LA here. Oh, we might be coming up on my old workplace. I used to work on this street as well for like years and years. Alright, right on the right side, I'm in that building. I do think there are some businesses that do well, like they've been there forever. The men's hair salon place, I don't know, barbershop. Nice Italian restaurant there. Now we're on Broadway. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna go by my favorite building. How exciting! Yes, it's Broadway. That's our Okay, let me pause it. See this building here? Okay, this building here. It's bending. Oh, what did I do? Hold on. I need it again to catch it just in time. Sorry, guys. Bear with me. If anyone wants to buy me this building, it's for sale. It has been for a while, and I'm sadly in love with it. Okay, so it's still kind of bent a little bit. I paused it in the same one, but this building on the right side here, and actually let me pull it up completely. It has actual gold on the it actually has gold filigree all around it, and it was originally the Charles F. Berg women's clothing department store. It's beautiful. It's and it has really a gorgeous facade. You can't really see it that well here. I might look it up. Yeah, it's black, but it has this beautiful like indigo design at the top, and then the gold pillars. It's incredible. I don't even know. Y'all are talking about Jesse. I like when he says the B word too, bitch. When Jesse says bitch, I love when he says bitch. Okay, let's continue. See what we see here in Portland. Oh, here we go. We got Nordstrom. And then on the right side, or I'm sorry, on the left side, we got the first Starbucks in Oregon there in Pioneer Square. I like to go to the coffee shop that's at the Nordstrom, so not all the time, but when I'm in the area, I really hit that one up. Okay, yeah, we have some big parts and stuff in the square. There's always some kitchens about, obviously. Okay, see across the street here, there's the old Pioneer courthouse, but there's these small buildings in front. Those were the first public outhouse, or they were like the second public toilets in the city. The first ones were some ways off of Burnside, but yeah, these were working toilets at one point, and they've been closed forever. I don't know why they don't have them running, but what would I do with the building? I think a couple things. I think with a building like that, there's like offices above the actual space. So I think rent offices to various people for one, private individuals who might have like a practice or, something like that. And then with the actual storefront, I'm thinking like an art gallery of some kind, or like some kind of event space, But I think having it focused on like the arts or public performance, something like that would be ideal, just with the look of it and the beauty of the space. I don't think that like a retail business, like a tradition, it couldn't be a department store. Also, it could make a nice museum too. I mean, a museum might be a good option for it as well. Something that's more, something more gravitated toward the arts. But I think an art gallery or maybe an art museum or some other type of museum would be an interesting space, an interesting and appropriate use of the space. Russell Crowe. No, that was pretty funny. Frederick agrees with the art gallery. Yeah, I like when that happens too. No, I know. It is funny. Okay, y'all. Hey, baby. You mad at me for being on the computer? Yeah, it's okay. All right, let's continue. I'm going through Portland. Oh, there's a Ben and Jerry. I have never eaten there. Oh, there's the mall again. And the Apple store. The Apple store is like, look at how during 2020 they messed up the Apple store so bad that it's like going into Israel now. Look at it. Look at this. It's massively enforced. There's multiple they really built it up as some kind of like fortress. And then of course there's they've got security out the yin yang. And yeah, this was the mall that they looted as well during the 2020 riots. Louis Vuitton, Gucci, all this stuff. We got the name brand stuff you might want. H&M still going strong. Oh, I did buy a nice bra there actually. And I don't really like, I don't really shop at H&M. Oh, we got the Chipotle that used to give me this okay, so this is 3rd Avenue that we're going on. There's a good Thai restaurant up here. They've got really the best garlic salmon. I wonder if they're just going to replay the same song or if they're going to let it be silent. And every now and then you see these beautiful older buildings too. Yeah. There are people cleaning up the city nice. Oh, we're going back up this street again. We were just on this street before. Going past this building. Yeah, what street is this? Is it Jefferson? I think it is. I think this is Jefferson. So we're like at the cross section of 4th and Jefferson. There's City Hall on the right side. And the Max. There's the Pakistan building. Okay, I really like this building on the right hand side. It's another, like a historic university club. Okay, we're taking a turn, nice. So this is Broadway again. That building's been shut down since the pandemic. It's a nice restaurant there I ate at before. We don't, yeah, we had a Burger King downtown, but it closed. We're going up to PSU, it looks like. AAA, yes. Just in case you need. All right, yeah, PSU is here on the right-hand side. The campus is pretty large. Responsible for a great deal of the corruption of young minds and liberalization and indoctrination into cultural Marxism. But it's a beautiful city. It says, let knowledge serve the city. I love that message. Let knowledge serve the city. Thank you for that. It's my town. Oh, there's that pho 503. They're all right. It's not the best pho, but it's the best in the area. the other Chipotle? We went by the two Chipotles. There's another one in the Pearl District too. So if you're on the inner west side, you can get your Chipotle. Okay. Yeah, Mini Mart, and then there's the Lucky Tortoise Pub. Snap. A Beppis. Okay. Oh, there's a place I went to get fingerprinted. Nice Chinese restaurant there at the corner. Well, that was it. Wow, Portland, Oregon. I don't know. That video was not as interesting as I thought it would be, to be honest, but it was nice. So, my goodness. Burger King's burgers. I don't even know where the closest Burger King is at this point. I haven't had a Burger King in so long. I think there's one on Powell, like 50th and Powell area. I think that one's still going. But I haven't really been to Powell in like, I don't know, a couple of years probably. Maybe not that long. And I wouldn't have any cause to go over to 50th and Powell. I mean, there's nothing really over there. I might go buy it. I don't like fast food that much, Burger King. I mean, there's much better fast food downtown if I wanted a burger. Like we've got a Shake Shack downtown. So we got Shake Shack, and then there's all the other like local places that do burgers. So I don't have any need for a Burger King burger. We do okay. We do okay. But yeah, any questions, comments about what we've seen today, what we've seen and heard this evening? I'll keep on for another 15 minutes or so, I think. Stacy asks, I don't have fast food these days, but I have childhood memories. Oh, hello, Vixa. I haven't seen you in the chat tonight, but hello, welcome. She asks, how did you lose weight? The number one thing I did was intermittent fasting. I came up with a 16-hour fast plan. So most days, pretty much every day, unless it's like a special occasion, I don't eat past 4, and I don't eat between like 4 p.m. and 7 a.m. So from those hours, I'm like not eating generally. And that's so, and then also just like restricting kind of how much I eat, you know. I have like one big meal a day and then maybe one small meal, or like one big meal and like snacks a couple times, you know, which would be something like fruit or like small, but really just implementing an eating window kind of took care of the need to do anything else. I don't really think about it. Yeah. I think so too, Bubblelandia. I mean, yeah, most parts of it, like a large part of it downtown, it's not bad at all. Like you don't see anything, but like there are areas where, you know, downtown where it will be a little bit more gruff just because it's like there's less business around. So they don't need to clear things up as much, you know, and people riffraff. You've been watching me since the old Twitter days? Hell yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here, Shug. Good to see you. I'm glad you're still watching. But yeah, intermittent fasting is incredible. It like really is the truth. And I think, you know, for women, it's one of the easiest ways to lose weight. You just kind of have to figure out when you need to eat, like as an individual, and, you know, when you can kind of fast. But I set it up for myself, like thinking, okay, how do I make the fast as easy as possible? You have to understand that your sleeping hours are part of your fast, okay? So what I did was I basically looked at when am I generally in bed? You know, what is my 8-hour sleeping window that I give myself, right? And then basically I broke up like, okay, so for 4 hours before I go to bed, I'm not going to be eating, right? 4 or 5 hours. Actually, yeah, I think it's more like 5 hours because my bedtime is technically 9. All right. So if I stop eating at 4, that means I have 5 hours. Is this making sense? But anyway, I split it between like the two. So I figure out, okay, like I'm pretty comfortable fasting this long in the afternoon or the evening and then in the morning. So that for me, I tried intermittent fasting before that, but when I kind of like figured it out that way, that worked for me best. But you're going to know for you intuitively, I think, what the best fasting is. Because some people are better at like skipping breakfast, but I'm not. I'm not a breakfast skipper. I would rather have breakfast than dinner. So you kind of have to pick like what meal you're more comfortable living without, And then you can play with it once you kind of get in the hang of it. Like I said, it's not if I get asked on a date or something, or like people are in town, or like I can play with it. But just having that routine is like all I can do, really. Or it's all I've really done to lose weight consistently. And really, it's just eating less. Before I was eating like 3 meals a day, and I didn't need to eat 3 meals a day. I needed to eat 1, and then like maybe a snack, or like I said, or 2. Even eating 2 meals a day, you're good. I don't know. People I think they don't realize that how much they're eating and how much they really need and how quickly it adds up. But I don't count calories. I don't cut out any macros. I don't cut anything out. I eat whatever I want. So eat whatever I want. And now since I started the journey of intermittent fasting, how much have I lost? It's, let's see. Well, I think I'm at like 70 pounds now down since I started intermittent fasting. And I'm still not exactly where I want to be, but like, just if you want to get weight off of you, like, and I recommend doing it. Yeah, usually it does. I like my sweets. What did I have today? I had a cupcake today. Yesterday, I probably ate more than I needed. I mean, I had 2 big meals yesterday because we had a church celebration for Independence Day. So we had like a Cambodian meal, which was awesome. We had like chicken and egg rolls and like noodles and like this amazing cabbage salad that had chili peppers in it and fried rice, and they had Krispy Kreme donuts. So I got one of those. So I had that. I had a plate of that. And then my neighbor was having a gathering and she cooked for that. And a bunch of us brought stuff. So I brought cupcakes to that because I didn't have time to cook anything. So I bought some fancy cupcakes. And then, we had like barbecue, and she made corn pudding, and there was salad, and there was all kinds of charcuterie and like fruit and like bread and stuff. Like we had a big meal. So yesterday I kind of ate a bit. So like, I mean, if I want to indulge, I indulge, but mainly it's just the consistency daily that keeps it going. I love dessert though. Yeah, I had a cupcake this morning because I had leftovers. I brought a plate home. So I was like, corn pudding. Now she looks like she won a season of Alone. She just won a season of Alone. A what? Dixa says I look great, which is thank you. Thank you. I feel great, like comparatively. I mean, not really. I feel like crap most of the time, but I feel good about how I look. Fred, like, really? Fred, I'm thick in all the right places, so don't. What is it with these black men? They they love fat white women. I don't know what it is. What are we to do? What are we to do? No fat white woman is safe. Fred, I am happy. I do not want all that weight on me. It's not good for me in my condition to be overweight. It isn't. It is not good. I have I have a chronic illness. I can't be, and I also have like mobility challenges. I can't be fat too. Like, what am I supposed to be? Like, what if I needed help? What if somebody needed to move me, Well, I don't know, Fred. To me, I was fat. I was way bigger than I needed to be. I've lost like since I started intermittent fasting a couple of years ago, I'm down like 10 pant sizes now. I'm down 10 sizes. Okay. You can't lose 10 sizes, 10 clothing sizes if you're not fat as fuck. Okay. And I was fat as fuck. What comments? I don't know what you mean. What did I miss? I missed them. I was reading through them, but I wasn't following them. So like, what am I dodging? Can you repeat your comment? If you would like me to respond to something, you can repeat it. A baby can lift a car. Okay. Well, what if I need to call a paramedic? What if I'm in an accident? I can't expect that there's always going, and even if I do have a husband, or something, I can't expect that he's always going to be there to rescue me. So, I mean, I don't think like it's nice. What you're saying is nice and probably true, but like the truth is, I don't want to be fat. And I still got fat on my body. I still got thick thighs. I still got a big butt. So, okay, I will drop, when I talk about being fat, I will say the F word, okay? Fat as fuck. It's past 8 o'clock. I was fat as fuck. I am not gonna be fat as fuck again. Frederick says, you are always perfect the way you are. I was not perfect the way I was. I was oppressed. I was spiritually oppressed. Brock will move ya. Lord help me. Fred turned the simp up to 11. Y'all are laughing. Can women be cool when cussing or not? I don't care. I'm not trying to be cool. I'm cool regardless. And I don't have a potty mouth. You all know I don't swear I can control my swearing. But when it comes to talking about my fatness, Yoda, okay, on my live stream, Yoda is again bringing up the fact that he is accusing Brack of jerking off. I can't believe I just said that. Yoda, what am I to do with you? I don't want to talk about that. I'd like to move past it. What would you like me to address? I will say this, Brock will not be coming on my live stream again, okay? but we'll just say that. He will not be coming on my live stream. He did. He said he did. Really? Really? I have trouble even reading his comments. They're so weird. What can I say? When I was 13, I wanted my friends' moms. Oh dear. Am my friend's mom age now? I've had that happen with some like friends' sons though. You know, they look at you in a certain way and you're like, oh dear. I don't want to go back and read it like, okay, I guess I will. Nothing Bunt Cakes gives you a free buntlet on your birthday if you're on their newsletter list. Okay. He says I just did like 3 strokes off my game. Why did you do that? Why would you come on my live stream and do that? I'm not dodging. Oh my God. He's calling me a dodging ass. I'm disturbed, man. He's been crazy. This guy has been crazy. Address it, all of it. I mean, what else am I to say? He will not be welcome on the Terri Strange channel again. We'll just say that. I don't know what else to say about it. And I don't know. I mean, what else is there to address? So, I mean, what do you think should happen, Yoda? In your infinite wisdom, like, what do you think we should do about this? Oh my God. You guys. Oh God. Why? I don't know what to say. I mean, I guess this is something, I have to guard myself against, Okay, so he does this to other women apparently. Wow. Okay. You're a freak. You need to be like seriously reined in. Like, it's not appropriate behavior. It's degenerate and it's going to ruin your life if you don't get this under control. Tom Bell says, I could hook you up with a fatty if you live near me. Do she cook, Tom? The fat girls really hold a man down, The haircut tells it all. I know, Lord. Frederick, if I'm ever on stream with you, please don't let him be in. Like, I'm really uncomfortable. Like, he might as well be an Indian. Oh, chat getting racist now. Hey, this is a white country and the white men are committing sex crimes, and hopefully it will remain. remain that way, you know? We can't let I don't even know. Like I'm kind of like I'm freaked out. Like I don't know if I'm being trolled like elaborately or if this has really happened. But you know what? It's 8:30. It's 8:34 actually, and I did say I would be getting off around 8:30. So yeah, what a way to end the night. Did you all have fun? Did you like hearing me say the F word? Press 1 if you're okay with me saying the F word naturally and on occasion. Press 2 if you think I should never use the F word. Press 3 if you don't know. Press 4 if you're here for chat. All right, Stacy is cool with me saying the F word. Hell yeah. White boy said the F word. Fred's cool with it. Bubblelandia is cool with it. Tom is 5. Can you explain what 5 is? 5 was not an option. What is the 5th option? I mean, I think people should control their swearing, but you know. 1 for the difficulty of losing hair weight. I know we poor pear-shaped women with our feminine frames that just want to put on fat and nurse babies. What are we to do? Nurse babies and bear babies with our big childbearing hips. What are we to do? Alas. It was an accident. Oh, okay, I understand that. So Tom is okay with the F word. I mean, that is F. That is fuck. I know, Tom. We're all kind of. Why? And Tar Baby Yoda is okay with the occasionally saying the F word. No, I was just fat. I was not pretty, hot, and tempting. Why? Do I agree that Tar Baby is overly moralistic and reactionary? Sometimes, I guess, but you know, you did what you did was wrong. What you did was wrong, and I think you know it was wrong. And the fact that you did it is shocking. Like you need to control your hell. Tom Bell says he couldn't even maintain. What a lie, Tom. What a lie. Buddha, I don't eat. Don't be a felon. I agree with that. But you know what? I don't like when, yeah, people shouldn't swear every other word. You know, the filler language in your vocabulary should not be the F word or any other swear word. And it definitely should be natural. It should come naturally. And it should enhance your language. It should season your language. It should not, you know, it's like if you dump too much salt on a dish, nobody's going to want to eat it. Just like your words. If your words are full of like too much of that seasoning, if you will, too much of that salt, it's going to be pretty hard to take in what you're saying or to digest what's being said. Yoda is so pleased. He's like, told y'all. He's like, all his little emojis, and he's like, told y'all. I mean, Tom, not Brack has a very elaborate style of how he is in these chats. I don't know. Stacy says bring back asylums. I got crimed. I mean, should I write to Bond? What do you think? Should I write to Bond and ask that they permanently ban all of his accounts for his infraction against my womanhood? Should I ask them, to come out for me and protect me? Should I block him? I don't know. Should I boot him even? I don't know. That's true. It does. I'm certain he says he's done it to other women, which is like kind of criminal here. Report it like, and what happens next? Are you flashing people in public? You gonna be one of those guys? Why not boot? I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of like stunned. I don't know. I'm not even sure how to react. I seem different today. Yeah, I know. Well, I'm not even scolding him. That's the thing. I don't even think I'm scolding him. If I wanted to scold him, a lot of those guys do get off on that too. They're into that, the reaction they get. What do I think about Trump being out? Oh God, you want me to talk about the abortion pill? I mean, I guess that makes sense to me. I honestly wish conservatives would stay away from that subject so that they could win elections more. To be honest. I mean, I don't know. I think so I'm wondering, I don't know if he means because there's different ones. There's like the morning after pill that women will take to not have a fertilized egg implant, so they'll take that if they have unprotected sex as a measure to not get pregnant. And then there's there's different drugs that are available, different ones that will abort or cause spontaneous abortion or kill the baby in the womb. So those are usually administered up to 8 weeks, I think, or maybe 10 weeks. I don't know exactly. I think it might depend on the medication as well, but the first trimester, essentially. That can be administered, and then so I mean, I don't know what to think about that. I mean, so it sounds like he's comfortable with that, but he would like to do something about late term abortions or ban those. And I don't know that that's always the right thing to do, because there are extreme circumstances or situations where the baby being born might not be really viable, or I don't know, it's one of those things. I don't think that you should be able to, if the child can live outside of you and it's a viable child, meaning it's not going to die immediately, then or not even immediately, but it's going to have a chance at a life of some kind, then I think it should be born. I don't think that that's acceptable, but it's like I think being against that to the morning after pill as well. I mean, well, some people are very, I mean, I don't think people should be having sex with anyone they don't want to have a kid with. And I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic about this, that maybe it'll push our culture in a, better direction where people are more mindful about who they let nut in them, So, I mean, um, yeah, they do, but that doesn't mean they should, that doesn't mean they should. And, there's like, I mean, with abortion, there's certain circumstances, that I think like it's probably the right thing to do. But yeah, I think, this attitude that adults just have sex, that isn't the case. And like, is it even in the case in your own life? I mean, are you not like, for me, that hasn't been the case in my life, that's just happening, So, I mean, I do wonder, do people just, I mean, some people seem to. I think maybe it's about priorities, and for some people it's very important to them that they do that with, or always have someone to do that with. But I don't think that's the right way to live. And I don't think it's led to anything good in our society. I don't think it's made people better. I don't think people treat one another better. I don't think that it's led to any more love or freedom, really. Not wearing shorts. And I agree. Yeah, sex isn't for dating. I agree. Like, we as a culture do need to return to not thinking that this is part of why I like the message of Shira 7 so much. Why it resonated so much, I think, with me. It's women really do control a lot with sexual access, and because access to sex is relatively cheap and easy for men, they don't value it. And as a result, they don't value women. So, I mean, I really do think that as a culture, the more that men who are not worthy of having sex aren't having it, the better off we'll be, Or if they do want to have it, they have to go like pay the community PP, to do it. So, yeah, I think it's right. I think it's right to take sex off of the table, and women, I think it's right for women to really be kind of conscious of the fact that they have a lot of power with that, and that, if we expect more, then we'll get more. If we value ourselves more, we'll be more valuable, Now they're beefing in the comment section. both presidents are for them and the state has no say. Well, I mean, I don't think the laws should change. Like, I wasn't for Roe versus Wade getting overturned because, again, it becomes this like divisive political issue. The underlying issues aren't really addressed. And, there's all this like upheaval, chaos, and confusion in the interim. And then women's fears are exploited, it becomes another battering ram, which is again like why I think conservatives should like stay out of issues like this one and others. I do think it's kind of a private thing. I know people. I know women who've had abortions, and there's some pretty sad stories tied into them, and that I kind of just see it like this. It's the wages of sin is death. And I think abortion is a reflection of that. It's a way that we, through sin generally, because you have to think about like why are women having abortions in the first place, and it's usually because they're engaging in sinful sex. Usually, I mean, not always. I mean, it can be. There are other circumstances as well that come up, but generally speaking, it's like sex out of wedlock, fornication, sex with somebody you don't have any future with, sex with somebody who doesn't value you and is not going to take care of you and have children with you in the right way, like letting a man like that have sex with you. But I mean, it's not always the case. There's also, other circumstances. So, yeah, I think like Biden during the debate when he talked about it, like he did, I appreciated that, he brought it up during the immigration thing. He mentioned that like, he mentioned like victims of incest and that kind of thing who are, raped by family members. But yeah, he made the comment about like sisters raping them, which is, not likely unless maybe the sister identifies as a woman, but is really a brother, So I don't know. Yeah, it really does. It does. It can be. It really can be. Tom is like, women want to have it too. I mean, yes, that is true. We do. But I mean, we're the ones who like cop it, at the end of the day, we're the ones who end up pregnant and then like in a vulnerable situation. So we're the ones that need to kind of guard our wombs, really protect ourselves, love ourselves. Mm-hmm. Yoda is suggesting that Brack call into Jesse and get help. Yeah, you should probably call Jesse. I'm not double-minded. I mean, no, I know it isn't right, but I also don't think it's, it's not, I don't think it's something that should be legislated against entirely. I don't think it's right, but I also don't think it's right for a father to like, for example, I personally know someone, okay, who her father began raping her when she was a child. All right. This woman, by the age of 13, conceived a child by her father. All right. And her mother knew what was going on, but was like totally like pretending it wasn't happening, because, and this is what happens. This is the tyranny of like patriarchy sometimes as well. Like you marry a pedophile and then, you know, you're reliant financially on a man who's raping your children. So this is part of why I'm still kind of like, not okay with like women's rights being overturned, because I think women need to get out of these situations and get their children out of these situations. So her mother took her to have an abortion, which was a traumatic experience for her. But so is, all of the rape that she suffered at the hands of her own father leading up to that. And I think like, it's just one of those situations where I'm like, I'm glad she didn't have her father's child, like it's one of those circumstances where I'm like, I'm not okay with that. No Christian says it's nuts. That's not true. That isn't true, Yoda. No, it isn't true. I mean, I really would like, not to continue with the stuff about Brack. Honestly, I find it really awful. And in God's plan, I don't know that it's God's. I mean, I think, I think Leah is listening. I don't think Leah is watching or listening. I doubt she is, honestly. I think she gets enough of me in person. I mentioned this very specific situation, Oh, no, Yoda, we disagree. We disagree. Okay. There are circumstances where I think abortion might be appropriate, but not, I don't think it's birth control. I don't think it's good for society, I don't think people should. I think, if you get pregnant, through your own folly and poor choices, then, this child has been sent to you to teach you responsibility and to get you to mature as a person. So that life is, I don't think that life should be taken, I think that, that child has a right to life as well. But, there's other circumstances where I'm like, I'm not so. I don't even know what you're talking. Like rockabilly. Yeah, I agree, Stacy. I mean, it's it's a. Yoda says, "Yeah, you do. That's why you still support it. Support what? I support it not being criminalized, Yoda. I don't think that it should be criminalized." Doesn't mean I support it. Doesn't mean I'm like, yeah, get an abortion. It's not like I'm like, yeah. Not like I'm cheering for it. Oh God, Yoda is being sick. Or not Yoda, sorry, Brack. Getting my trolls confused a bit here. Brock, I don't like. Brock, I mean, people will always be sussing. I don't know about that. I don't think that's the case. I think we tell ourselves these things because as a culture, we've backslid into degeneracy. Some people will always be degenerate, but like we can encourage people to not be. We can encourage people to go down a different path. We can be a good example. We can control ourselves. If we have kids, we can control ourselves and raise them in the right way, hopefully. God. What is sexual hardship? I've had sexual hardship. Stacey's like, I'd ban him at this point. Maybe I should. Yeah, I'm a little weirded out, honestly. I know C-Cell blocked him because of something creepy he said about me a while ago. Well, how does that look, Yoda? How does that look? Stand up for babies as much as I stood up for abortion. Chat always gets you talking about, oh, S.A. Brady, do they? Does that happen? Yeah, they kind of do. Yeah, I'd like to get off the topic, like, honestly. He does keep pushing it. What a mess. What a messy mess. I mean, yeah. Yeah, he is being honest. He's leaving. Have a good night. I really don't know what to think. I know he's not all there. I need to pray. I'm going to be doing the silent prayer tonight. That is true, Tom Bell. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about abortion either. Because again, it's one of these emotional issues. And it's, even even on my end, like where I'm coming from, like I mentioned, like my friend, and her experience. And, I don't know. It's emotional. It's something I'm emotional about. Like, and I thank God how many, young women and girls are in this position. And like, if they're seeking out, like, often when like they're, underage and seeking it out, it's usually because some older man has groomed them anyway. I mean, not always, but like, generally speaking. So I don't know. Do I think he can keep the stance he took? Well, why couldn't he keep the stance he took? Yeah, I mean, I don't even know that the stance he took is relevant at this point since it's been taken to the state level. Like, I don't think how he personally feels about abortion at all matters. It's no longer relevant. This is a good comment. Men need to be pro-life before they demand sex, not after. Uh, I mean, yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, how many situations are it's like, I don't know. Where our culture is this. This is the other thing. Our culture is so severely dysfunctional and broken that men and women do not know how to behave properly with themselves or others. So I'm like, what are we gonna do now? Are we gonna have like a boon of more single, mother households? And like, is this gonna be what kind of, like what kind of situation are we setting up? Because like men and women really are not, they don't know how to work with one another en masse. Like not all, but most. So it's like, God, and and I really do think that message though does need to be drilled in, that you should not let somebody have sex with you who you wouldn't want to have a child with. I think that's a pretty fair standard, or who you're not prepared to have a child with, I should say. Like not even want, but are prepared for men and women. For men and women, like before you do the deed, you should really ask yourself, like, is this someone that I'm willing to have a child with? Is this someone I'm okay, like, having a child with? Like, if I had this person's child, would that be okay? Like think about it. Like, imagine a future and what it's going to look like. It might help with clarity, having that pre-nut clarity. Am I voting for Trump? I haven't decided, to be honest. Okay, I mean, I don't know enough about it, Fred. I really don't. Wow, okay, Yoda, nice language. That's not even the case. That's not even the case with all women who have, like, no. 1 in 3 Zoomers. I disagree with you, and I disagree with your language. And it's the kind of language that closes people's ears when you use that kind of language, Nobody thinks rationally about it. They don't, you have to like, you really do need to, if you want to change people's minds about this subject or get them to consider another way, like that's exactly the kind of language that's just going to inflame them and polarize them. It's like, instead of making them see how it's in their self-interest, it's not. So that I think that's a better way of, it's in your self-interest to not, and you just call them a whore. Like to them, it's normal. Like that kind of sex culture is normal. With women I know that are younger than me, like I'm astounded. Like I'm astounded sometimes when I, because I know some Zoomers. Like I know one is like 23, one that's like 25, and I mean, I thought it was bad when I was coming up. Thankfully, I was fat and unattractive and masculine, so I didn't get too much attention when I was young. Maybe it would have been more, more of a problem if that hadn't been the case. But yeah, I mean, I just know for the young women I do know, like they're very desensitized, I would say. They think it's normal. Everyone tells them it's normal. Everyone around them seems to reinforce it, except for like me, or maybe a few people. But I mean, by and large, it's what people are doing. It's how people are behaving. So like, they don't even see that they're being whores, you know, like they don't even, to them, like, that's not even, like, what do you mean? I didn't get paid for it. You know what I mean? Like, that's their mindset. Do you think that's true? A Trump vote in a blue state would really count? They say it doesn't count. They say it doesn't count. It's been like that for ions. I mean, I don't know. Okay, y'all, you know what? It's past my bedtime. I'm sorry, but I'm shutting it down. Terri Strange is going offline. So it's been amazing. We had some fun. We had some laughs. I will be back later this week, either tomorrow. Well, I mean, I do want to do more readings of the antidote. I am also planning to do a Bible study as well. So from James, I have the insert from church. And as we aren't doing the Bible study for summer, I will be doing it here. So we'll do some reading from the book of James. And I also will be sharing, all right, y'all, you're going to love this. At church, we were doing a trivia. I told you about we had the big fellowship meal. Well, I won this book during the trivia section because they asked the question, you know, what year was the U.S. born in, or like what year did we become a country? And I answered 1776. So I got the Berenstain Bears, God Bless Our Country. And apparently they have I didn't know this, but they have like a Christian Berenstain Bears series. It's called Living Light, A Faith Story. And they have all these other Christian Berenstain Bears books. So I'll be reading this. And you know what? We got a Mandela effect. Now, I come from the universe where it was an E. Press 1 if you're from universe where it was an E, or press 2 if you're from the Berenstains. They're Berensteins, not Berenstains. All right, Stacy's a real one. Okay. Well, okay, and Bubblelandia is cool for, okay, so that'll be happening Wednesday night. Okay, Freddie's a real one too. Berenstein Bears, not Berenstain. How we get home, I don't know that we'll ever end up back home, but it is what it is. So yeah, I'll be reading this book to y'all. It's, you know, I thought it'd be fun, you know, festive for 4th of July this week. So I might do that on Wednesday. And I also might go live tomorrow. We'll see how much energy I have. If I do, we'll be reading from Jesse's book. So anyway, lovely to have you all here tonight. And see you later.